Chapter 1453. Attack. Kill those old fellows from the palace of gods of war. Don't leave a single one alive. I'm going to tear them into pieces. The martial reverends roared crazily. Instantly, the formation in front of them flickered, and countless rays of light enveloped the ninth elder and the others. The ninth elder and the others looked up to the sky and laughed excitedly. At this moment, they didn't have any fear at all because the scene that Lin Xian had displayed had deeply shocked them. They didn't expect Lin Xian to be so powerful. He could instantly kill a peerless genius like Duan Yu. Their young master was so powerful, so what if they died? Moreover, they believed that Din Xian would definitely protect Lin Xian. Therefore they could die without regrets. Seeing the formation flickering in front of them, forming countless killing sword chi, and slashing towards the ninth elder and the others, many people sighed. As for the elders of the Immortal Martial Academy, they clenched their fists and were about to attack. However, Lin Xian said indifferently, "Ruffian dragon, save them all." What? Save them? How? That was an extremely terrifying killing formation. Even a half-step king might not be able to survive in it. Many people shook their heads and sneered. However, in the next moment, a light flashed, and the ninth elder and the others appeared beside the dark red divine dragon. Although they were injured, their lives weren't in danger. What? They were saved? How is this possible? Everyone was stunned. That was a super killing formation. How did the other party do it? Moreover, it succeeded in the blink of an eye. They didn't even see how the other party did it. This time, not only were the innocents shocked, but young Master Anil and the others were also shocked. They also didn't see it clearly. The Duan family was even more stunned. They stood rooted to the ground in disbelief. Even the 5 great kings could not remain calm this time. This was because this method was extremely shocking to them. With their experience and strength, they could naturally see the power of that killing formation. Even a half-step king wouldn't be able to escape. Unless they made a move, they wouldn't be able to save them instantly. But now a 4-legged snake actually did it. How is this possible? Therefore, in an instant, countless gazes were fixed on the dark red divine dragon. Among them, 5 were kings. They were very bright like torches. I can't sense its cultivation base. Ancestor Morong was surprised. The Shin family's patriarch also frowned. Could it be a super array master? Interesting indeed. The happy king stared at the dark red divine dragon with a fiery gaze. Din Xian was shocked as well. Naturally, he knew about the Crimson Godly Dragon's background. But now, it seemed like the Crimson Godly Dragon had recovered. This made him heave a sigh of relief in his heart. If the other party had really recovered, it would definitely be a great thing for him. This way, Lin Xian and the people from the Palace of Ares would definitely be safe. Although he was a king and could restrain the Duan family's patriarch, there was still the Shen family's patriarch beside him. With the relationship between the Shen clan and the Duan clan, they would definitely make a move when the time came. A king tier like him would not be able to contend against so many. But now, with the dark red divine dragon, even if the old master of the Shen family were to make a move, he would be able to handle it. Thinking of this, Din Xian smiled. Then, he picked up the spiritual tea in front of him with a relaxed expression and slowly tasted it. On the other hand, the Duan clan's patriarch's face was gloomy as he stared coldly at the dark red divine dragon. The killing intent in his eyes was not concealed at all. Unexpected, this was too unexpected. He had set up everything, but he did not expect that it would be destroyed by a long snake. This was intolerable to him. However, what shocked him even more was that the other party was not afraid of his suppression at all. This was because this gaze contained the powerful suppression of a king tier cultivator. Any cultivator below the king tier, even a half-step king, would not be able to withstand it. He wanted to use this method to kill the other party, but he did not expect that it would not work at all. The dark red divine dragon did not care about these gazes, especially the killing intent of the Duan clan's patriarch. Now that he had recovered to the king tier, he was no longer afraid of these people. Although he had not fully recovered, with his current cultivation and strength, he was able to use many kinds of dragon's secret techniques. He was not afraid of these kings at all. In the next moment, He waved his dragon claws and shot out several streams of spiritual energy into the bodies of the ninth elder and the other elders of the Palace of Ares, helping to stabilize their injuries. Lin Xian also took out some elixirs for them to consume. It was only after a long time that the crowd regained their senses. Then, they erupted into shouts of shock. The cultivators on the Duan clan's side were even more enraged. At this moment, they finally could not hold it in anymore. The other party had actually openly killed their prodigies right under their noses. This was intolerable. Therefore, in the next moment, dozens of figures rose from the ground and charged towards Lin Xian. This time, there were 10 elders at the peak of the ninth heaven and 30 venerables at the ninth heaven. When these people joined forces, they formed a terrifying aura. It was as if countless demons had appeared out of nowhere. The powerful aura caused a strong gale to blow through the entire valley. When these people joined forces, even a half-step king would not be able to deal with them. Moreover, these people were not fighting alone. Instead, they quickly formed a kind of formation. Among them, 10 peak ninth heaven supremacies formed the myriad transformation sword formation. Suddenly, countless sword chi rushed out from these elders, forming a terrifying sword formation that enveloped Lin Xian. The other 39th heaven supremacies formed the universe demon subduing formation. Countless lightning bolts, gales, and flames surged out from these cultivators, forming a killing formation that also charged towards Lin Xian. When the two formations exploded, their energy was 10 times stronger than these cultivators. In an instant, they enveloped the entire valley. Haha kid, go to hell. I will use your blood to pay tribute to my Duan clan's heroic spirit. Angry roars rang out, and a terrifying power swept out in all directions. Seeing this scene, everyone retreated in fear and raised their defenses to protect themselves. They had no choice. These two formations were too terrifying. The energy that they emitted made these cultivators feel a sense of despair. This was a joint attack formation that was specially used to kill enemies. Within this formation, one could definitely erupt with power 10 times stronger than one's own. Moreover, it could be perfectly combined. It could be said to be an extremely powerful killing formation. Within the myriad transformation sword formation, hundreds of sword chi surged into the sky. Like divine light, they flickered with an incomparably sharp aura. They covered the sky and instantly engulfed Lin Xian. On the other side, the universe demon subduing formation exploded with unparalleled power. Countless lightning bolts danced like wild dragons, directly shattering the void. Behind them, there were flames that filled the sky, countless wind blades and terrifying ice. All sorts of powerful energy gathered at this moment, forming an inescapable net. In an instant, the two killing formations completely enveloped Lin Xian. Chapter 1454. It's over, it's over. This time Lin Xian is dead for sure. I'm afraid no one can withstand such a horrifying killing array. Yeah, no matter how strong he is, he's only one person. The Duan family has countless experts and such a magical killing array. When combined, they can unleash 10 times the power. No matter how strong that kid is, he can't resist. Everyone was discussing while the martial honorable's lips curled into a cold smile. The eyes of the Duan family's old ancestor flickered. Not only that, but the other 4 kings were also paying attention. Lin Xian's previous performance was too dazzling. It was completely beyond their expectations, and had even surpassed young Master Anil and the others. Rumble. Crack. Crack. Sword chi and lightning danced wildly. Horrifying energy exploded, causing the void in front of them to completely crack, forming terrifying black holes. Seeing this scene, those experts of the Duan clan finally looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, Dai kid. So what if you're strong? Aren't you just a vengeful spirit now? This is what you get for going against the Duan family. Not only are we going to kill you, but we're also going to kill everyone in the palace of Ares. Let's see how you're going to stop us. Vicious voices rang out one after another, causing everyone's scalp to go numb, and their hearts to palpitate. As for the ninth elder and the others, they had just recovered from their injuries. When they saw this scene, their faces instantly turned pale. They even gritted their teeth and charged forward again, wanting to risk their lives. The dark red divine dragon waved its claws, and as if it had used a fixed body technique, it firmly restrained the ninth elder and the others. Then it said lazily, "Don't worry, that kid won't die. His strength is far beyond your imagination. This attack is nothing to him." Although the dark red divine dragon's voice wasn't loud, it spread clearly in all directions. It could even be heard clearly under the thunderous roar. This attack, nothing to him? Everyone felt a headache coming. This was an extremely horrifying attack. No one below the king realm could withstand it. It was only because this valley had a super array that it wasn't destroyed. Even the void was being blasted into black holes. They couldn't think of anyone who could survive under such power. Terrifying energy exploded, blasting the void into one black hole after another, flickering indeterminately, as if it was the entrance to the abyss of hell. Seeing this scene, the Duan clan's martial artists laughed wildly. In their opinion, the other party was dead for sure. This was because no one below the king realm could block such an attack. This is your strength. Do you have the right to be arrogant? How pitifully weak. However, at that moment, an ice-cold voice sounded from the berserk energy. What? This is impossible. Hearing this voice, everyone was stunned. The Duan clan's martial artists widened their eyes in disbelief. They could naturally tell that the voice belonged to Lin Xian. But how was that possible? How could he still be alive? Shouldn't he have been blown to smithereens by this violent energy? It must be an illusion. Maybe the spiritual energy just now was too strong, so it's an illusion. Many people comforted themselves. However, in the next moment, their eyelids twitched violently as they froze on the spot. That was because the terrifying energy vortex in front of him had suddenly split open, as if it had been split in half by a sword. And from that huge crack, a figure slowly walked out. What? It's Lin Xian. It was Lin Xian. His clothes were neat and tidy, without a trace of dust. How is this possible? This can't be real. I don't believe it. Seeing this, the Duan clan's martial artists roared wildly. How could the other party be unscathed after such a terrifying attack? How was that possible? They could not believe it. They were not the only ones. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Even the kings frowned as their eyes flickered. That was because this outcome was indeed beyond their expectations. At that moment, the martial honorables also reacted and roared wildly. Retreat, retreat quickly. The Duan clan's martial artists felt their scalps go numb as they retreated madly. The other party was too strange. That was their full-powered attack, and no one below the king realm could resist it. However, not only was the other party alive, but he was also safe and sound. He was not injured at all. That was too unbelievable. All of you stay here. Lin Xian snorted coldly when he saw this. With a wave of his hand, a golden sky rock flew out from his palm, and quickly filled the entire sky. 108,000 swords. The golden sky rock flapped its wings, and its golden feathers turned into countless divine swords that flew in all directions. No! The Duan clan's martial artists felt their scalps go numb as they roared wildly, and resisted with all their might. However, it was useless. In front of the golden swords, they were as weak as ants. The martial honorables roared furiously and attacked wildly. Beside him, a black tiger quickly appeared. With a wave of his hand, the black tiger quickly pounced forward, All right, I'll get rid of you today. Lin Xian roared and stomped his feet. His entire body turned into a sharp sword radiance and instantly charged forward. At the same time, the golden sky rock in the sky was still shining brightly. 108,000 golden swords swept across the entire valley. Poof! Poof! In an instant, the Duan clan's martial artists who had attacked were all pierced by the golden swords and nailed to the ground. The ground was instantly dyed red. Countless streams of blood flowed, and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. Everyone went crazy and couldn't believe it. They could only quickly retreat for fear of being affected. Ah, kid, it'll kill you. Seeing this, the martial honorables roared furiously. He stood on the black tiger and quickly charged forward. At the same time, a black pagoda appeared in his hand. It flickered with a black light and was like a black mountain that crushed down on the void. At this moment, the martial honorables displayed powerful combat strength. He looked down on everyone and charged at Lin Xian like a god of war. So strong! Everyone was shocked. The aura emitted by the martial honorables was too terrifying. It had long surpassed the half-step king realm. It was even more terrifying than the joint attack of the Duan clan's martial artists. It was too terrifying. He was probably not far from the king realm. Everyone exclaimed. In an instant, the martial honorables had already arrived beside Lin Xian. His gaze was like lightning and carried a sharp glint as it opened and closed. The black pagoda in his hand spun rapidly and shot out rays of black light. The black tiger beneath his feet roared at the sky and opened its bloody mouth, easily tearing the void apart. In an instant, all kinds of attacks blasted towards Lin Xian. Martial honorables, right? It'll start with you today. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His expression was extremely cold. A green dragon's shadow appeared above his hand. It was like a real dragon and was extremely ferocious. Then he punched out. Boom! In the next moment, the terrifying palm collided with the black pagoda and the black tiger beneath his feet. An earth-shaking sound resounded. Chapter 1455. Boom! In the next moment, the terrifying palm collided with the black pagoda and the black tiger under his feet, creating an earth-shattering sound. The terrifying sound reverberated in all directions. Many martial artists in the surroundings were bleeding from their ears and kept retreating. Terrifying, it was too terrifying. The array of the entire valley shook violently. It could not withstand the impact at all, and cracks began to appear in many places. However, there were 5 kings here, so there would not be any accidents. Immediately, Ancestor Murong and the other
glared
kings made their
fiercely at
moves.
Lin Xian again.
Countless rays
In
of
fact,
light shot out
Duan
and
Yu and a few
stabilized
other
the
top
entire
experts
valley.
had a chance to
However,
survive.
in the blink of an
As
eye,
long as they
the outcome of the battle had been
golden
decided.
pill.
A scream was
They could
heard,
recover no
followed
matter
by
how
countless
serious their
cracking
injuries
sounds.
were.
However,
The outcome
Lin
has been
Xian's
decided
methods were too fierce.
so fast.
In one move,
Everyone was shocked
everyone was
and looked
killed.
over.
Not
The
giving
martial
them a chance
honorable
to
was
consume
covered in
the
blood
indestructible
and
golden
looked
pill.
terrified as he
This
quickly
time,
retreated.
it was the Duan
pagoda
clan's
in his hand
patriarch
was
who
split in
saved the
half,
lives of the
and
martial
the black
artists.
tiger under his feet
Otherwise, the
was
martial
killed by a
artist's
single
fate
punch.
would have been the same
At
as
that
those
moment,
people.
the
killed
martial
in one
honorable
move.
was in a sorry
Kid,
state.
I won't let you go.
He was like a stray
the martial
dog as he
honorable
quickly
stared
retreated.
at Lin Xian,
What?
his voice ferocious.
How is this possible?
Won't let me go.
Everyone saw
Think
this
about
scene.
yourself first.
They could not believe it.
Do you
They
really
originally
think that
thought
with this
that
old
Lin
dog
Xian
would
would
be the one to
you
lose?
can escape safely?
But they did not
Lin
expect
Xian
that the
looked into
martial
the distance
honorable would be
and
the one
sneered
to lose.
disdainfully.
Not
He
only
didn't
had he
intend
lost,
to let the
but he
martial
had lost
artists
so
of the
miserably.
Duan clan
One
escape.
punch,
Just
Junior.
one punch.
Don't be so
And the
arrogant.
martial honorable
I
was
didn't kill
severely
you
injured.
because I don't want to
Even
fight
the Dharma
with you.
treasure in
But
his
you
hand
provoked
was
me
destroyed
time and time again.
His speed was
and
even
even
faster
dared to
than
kill
Duan
countless
Yes.
experts of my Duan
Impossible.
clan.
How can this
no
kid
matter
be so
what,
strong?
I won't let you
At
go
that
this time.
moment, everyone's
The
scalps
Duan
went
clan's
numb.
patriarch's
They
voice
now
was
realized
cold
that Lin
and
Xian
carried
was
the
too
pressure of a
terrifying.
king.
His combat
Resounding in all
strength did not
directions.
seem to be up to par.
Instantly, as the
surrounding
enemy's strength
martial
increased,
artists' hearts
Lin
pounded
Xian's
wildly,
combat
and their
strength
blood
became
boiled.
even stronger.
Some of the weaker
This
ones
made everyone
even knelt on the
incomparably
ground.
shocked.
This was the
At that
pressure of a
moment,
king.
even Ancestor
Those below
Murong,
the king level
the happy
couldn't
king,
resist at all.
and the Shen family's patriarch frowned.
Please kill this
Din
bastard
Xian
and
was
take
also
revenge
shocked.
for the Duan
To
clan.
be honest,
At this
Lin
moment,
Xian's combat
countless
strength
disciples of the
had
Duan
far
clan
exceeded
knelt
his
down and
expectations.
shouted loudly.
You want to leave?
Everyone felt
Don't
their
you think
scalps
it's
go
too
numb.
late?
If the Duan clan's
Since the Duan
patriarch
family
attacked,
dared to attack
then
the
Lin
palace
Xian
of
would
gods of
definitely
war,
die.
You
On
should
the
be
side of
prepared
the
to be
immortal
killed.
martial academy,
Lin Xian shouted
the elders
coldly.
were also nervous.
A green killing
Din
sword
Xian's
quickly
eyes
formed in
flickered,
his hand,
and she was
and he
prepared
quickly
to attack
slashed
at any
forward.
time
Kid,
to
you're
stop the
courting
Duan
death.
clan's patriarch.
Seeing that the martial
Lin
honorable
Xian
had
sneered at the
retreated
sky.
with injuries
Kill
while
me?
Lin Xian was still attacking.
Today, none of you
the
from the
Duan
Duan
clan's
clan
patriarch
can leave.
could no longer hold
After
himself
speaking,
back.
Lin Xian's
He
figure
snorted
flashed,
coldly
and
he
stretched out
actually
his
charged
palm.
forward.
Instantly,
In his hand,
it formed a
green
five-finger
sword shadow
mountain
condensed
and
once
enveloped
again,
Wuxia,
and he charged
in
toward
an
the
instant,
martial honorable.
The heavenly hand wrapped around
you're courting
Wuxia
death,
and brought
Seeing
him back
this
to the
scene,
Duan
the
clan's
martial
ancestor
honorable
sighed.
roared crazily.
All of this happened
At the
very
side,
quickly.
The Duan
In the
clan's
time it took
patriarch's
for a
face
spark
was
to
fly
gloomy
off a
and
piece of
terrifying.
flint.
He
By
didn't
the
expect
time
that
everyone
Lin Xian
regained their
would still
senses,
dare to attack.
the battle was
This was
already
too
over.
arrogant. Only the
Therefore,
heavily
at this
injured
moment,
and bleeding
he couldn't
martial
care less
honorable
about his
had a
status as a
ferocious
king.
expression
He
on his
decided
face.
to attack decisively
Impossible.
and
How is
kill
this
this little
possible?
bastard in
I
front
don't
of him.
believe it. The eyelids
The
of the
martial
surrounding
revered
people
clutched his
twitched,
wound,
and they
his
couldn't
expression
believe it.
extremely
They
sinister.
didn't expect that
He did
Lin
not
Xian
expect
would
to
take
take
the
the
initiative, because
to
even
kill
if
the
he
martial
beat him to
honorable.
death, wasn't
He did
this
not
courting
believe
death?
that the other party
One had
could
to
hurt
know
him.
that the Duan
It should
clan's
be known that
patriarch
his strength
was
had
standing
long
beside
since
the
surpassed
martial
the half-step
honorable.
king realm.
That was a true
Reaching
king-level
an
king.
inconceivable level.
Could it
He
be
might
that Lin
even
Xian
become
wanted
another
to fight
king in the
against the
future.
king-level king?
It could be said that there was
Everyone
practically
felt
no
like they
one
were
below
dreaming.
the king level.
Even the
who
other
could go
kings were
against him.
stunned.
But
They
now,
didn't
he
expect
had been
that Lin
defeated.
Xian would be so
One
daring
punch,
to
just
provoke
one
a king-level
punch,
king,
and his opponent
Interesting.
had severely injured
The
him.
happy monarch
Don't
smiled.
speak first.
Patriarch
Consume the
Murong's eyes
indestructible
flickered,
golden pill.
but he didn't say
The
anything.
Duan clan's
On the
patriarch
other hand,
said in a deep
the
voice.
Shen clan's
Hearing
patriarch
this,
snorted coldly.
the martial honorable
Obviously,
quickly consumed
he
an
was very
indestructible
unhappy
golden
with Lin
pill,
Xian's actions
and the
of
injuries on
provoking
his
a
body
king-level
instantly
king.
healed.
The one who was most worried was Din Xian. He didn't expect that Lin Xian would take the initiative to attack. That was too daring. Moreover, what shocked him even more was that Lin Xian's speed was too fast. By the time he reacted, Lin Xian was already in front of him. Even if he wanted to attack now, it would be too late. However, he still gritted his teeth and decided to attack. Therefore, in an instant, Din Xian also flew forward. Seeing this, the Shen clan's patriarch patriarch snorted coldly, and his figure also disappeared from the spot. Chapter 1456. On the other side, Lin Xian had already arrived in front of the martial honorable. The dragon-shaped sword in his hand slashed down quickly. As the sword energy slashed down, a black crack that was more than 100 feet long appeared in the void, emitting a terrifying aura. "You're courting death." This time, the patriarch of the Duan family was finally enraged. He took a step forward and stood in front of the martial honorable. Instantly, a terrifying king's aura rose from his body. Terrifying energy exploded in all directions like a flood. The entire valley trembled violently. Even with the array defense, a large crack appeared at this moment. Countless mountains collapsed, and huge rocks rolled down. It was terrifying. This was the aura of a king. It was too terrifying. Kid die. The patriarch of the Duan family slapped out with the king's aura, and quickly blasted towards Lin Xian. Behind him, the martial honorable revealed a sinister smile. Idiot kid, how dare you challenge a king? You're courting death. Although I can't kill you personally, I'll watch you die with my own eyes. Don't worry, after you die, I'll cut off your head and offer it to my 2 children. The martial honorable's expression was sinister like a demon. The surrounding people were even more shocked. With a king attacking, Lin Xian would definitely not be able to resist. Din Xian was anxious and couldn't help but speed up. However, in the next moment, an old figure appeared in front of him and stopped him. Din Xian, where are you going? This is a matter of the Duan family. You'd better not interfere. At this critical moment, the patriarch of the Shen family appeared and stopped Din Xian, preventing him from saving Lin Xian. Scram! Din Xian was furious and released a terrifying aura. The king's aura appeared again, pressing down on everyone on the ground. Do you think I'm afraid of you? The patriarch of the Shen family roared and attacked as well. The 2 kings exchanged blows in the air. The terrifying thing was that a huge black crack was instantly torn in the sky. At the moment when the 2 of them exchanged blows, the patriarch of the Duan family's palm slammed heavily on Lin Xian's body. Boom! In the next moment, a terrifying energy exploded and turned the void into nothingness. One black hole after another quickly appeared and swallowed everything around it. No! When the 9th elder and the other elders from the palace of Ares saw this scene, they let out heart-wrenching screams. Din Xian's face darkened as she shouted, "Get lost!" His entire body erupted with unparalleled power. He was like a peerless divine sword that was instantly unsheathed. The terrifying aura caused the entire sky to rapidly collapse. However, on the other side, the old ancestor of the Shen clan sneered. Similarly, a violent energy gushed out from his body, resisting the headmaster of Hengshuan. Hee, I won't let you go. The Chen family's ancestor's voice was cold. On the other side, the happy monarch and ancestor Murong's eyes flickered. They had no intention of joining the fight. Just when everyone thought that Lin Xian was finished, another change occurred. 2 more miserable screams came from the terrifying black hole in front of them. Then a figure flew out. Boom! The figure was like a cannonball, crashing into the mountain. Instantly, countless mountains collapsed, boulders rolled down, and the ground cracked open. Because the speed was too fast, no one could see clearly who was sent flying. However, they guessed that it should be Lin Xian. However, very soon these people were stunned, because another figure fell from the sky. This person had dozens of sword chi on his body. They were extremely sharp and blood flowed out. He looked extremely ferocious. Boom! The figure landed, and was nailed to the ground by the sword chi. What? Wu Zun? How is this possible? When the people saw the figure, their minds instantly exploded. They did not expect that the person nailed to the ground was Wu Zun. Wasn't he protected by the old ancestor of the Duan clan? How could he be killed? Everyone's mind went blank. They could not believe it. Wu Zun was the top expert below the king level. He was also known as the person who was most likely to become the next king. It could be said that he was very dazzling and was the future hope of the Duan clan. However, at this moment, he was nailed to the ground by countless sword chi. He could not be more dead. Moreover, what was even more shocking was that the last scene they saw was the old ancestor of the Duan clan protecting Wu Zun. Logically speaking, when a king-level expert made a move, there should be no danger. However, the current situation was beyond everyone's expectations. Could it be that the person who was sent flying was the old ancestor of the Duan clan? At this moment, this thought suddenly appeared in everyone's mind. However, when this thought appeared, countless people immediately shook their heads. They could not believe it. No, it can't be. How is this possible? That was a real king-level expert. How could a young man in his 20s defeat a king-level expert? No one could believe it. Even the old ancestor of the Morong clan and the happy monarch frowned. In the sky, Din Xian and the old ancestor of the Shun clan stopped their attacks at the same time and looked at the ruins in shock. To be honest, the two of them were very nervous. Din Xian was worried about Lin Xian, and the old ancestor of the Shun clan was more afraid that the one who was sent flying was the old ancestor of the Duan clan. If that was really the case, then the situation was very strange. A king-level expert was sent flying by a young man in his 20s. This had never happened in the history of the Tianwu continent. Soon they knew the result, because the ruins in front of them had exploded and turned into dust. An old figure walked out from the ruins. He was tall and had a head of white hair. He wore a red robe, and his body emitted a terrifying aura. Everyone could only look up to him. What? The old ancestor of the Duan clan? Everyone opened their eyes wide and didn't dare believe it. They'd never imagined that it would really be the old ancestor of the Duan clan that was sent flying. This was too shocking. After all, the old ancestor of the Duan clan was a real king-level expert, the peak existence of the entire continent. How could he be sent flying? However, it had really happened. Everyone felt that their brains weren't enough to comprehend it. Even the other four kings had solemn expressions, and their eyes were filled with dense bewilderment. To be honest, even though the old ancestor of the Duan clan had just entered the king realm, and his strength was slightly inferior to theirs, he was still a king-level expert. Advancing from the Exalt realm to the king realm was like a carp leaping over the dragon's gate. Once one reached the gazing realm, one's strength would undergo a tremendous change. It could be said that the gap between the king realm and the Exalt realm was like the gap between heaven and earth. It was utterly impossible to surmount. However, a kid at the Exalt realm had actually sent a king realm expert flying. This was truly too shocking. No, an Exalt realm expert is absolutely unable to go against a king-level expert. The old ancestor of the Morong clan had a solemn expression and quickly shook his head. There's something wrong with that kid. He really didn't believe that an Exalt realm expert could defeat a king realm expert, because the gap between their strengths was more than 100 times. What did you say? Could it be that kid has entered the king realm? How could that be possible? The old ancestor of the Chun clan shook his head madly and had an expression of disbelief. Chapter 1457. Not to mention the Chun clan's ancestor. Even the Merry King and Din Xian gasped. All of them had entered the King realm after the age of 500, and the better ones were around 600 or 700 years old. Almost all of them had only succeeded when they were over 1,000 years old. Just this obviously showed how difficult it was to enter the King realm. But now, someone told them that a 20-year-old young man had entered the King realm, and they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. Where's that kid? At this moment, the Merry King had restrained his smile, and his handsome face was covered in a solemn expression. His clear eyes were like thunderbolts as they swept through the surroundings. In next to no time, he locked onto the area ahead. An enormous black hole was slowly vanishing there, and it was the damage caused by the Duan clan's ancestors' palm strike. The Duan clan's ancestor's face was terrifyingly gloomy. Truthfully speaking, he didn't believe that such a situation would occur at all. After all, he was a King realm expert, and no one could compare to him in this world. Besides the 4 people who had entered the King realm before him, he didn't take the others seriously at all. As for someone like Lin Xian, he was confident that he could crush Lin Xian with a single finger, but had never imagined that he would actually be blasted flying, and this caused him to be on the verge of exploding with rage. Impossible. This is absolutely not his strength. Damn it. Could it be that this kid brought some help? The Duan clan's ancestor's face was livid, and his entire body trembled with rage. Being blasted flying by a 20-year-old young man caused him to feel ashamed, and he would probably become a laughingstock on the continent in the future. So in the next moment, he roared furiously while light erupted from his eyes, and it formed into a ray of divine light that swept through the surroundings. Kid, I'll kill you. No matter what help you have, you won't be able to escape death today. The Duan clan's ancestor had a savage expression, and his aura was terrifying. His entire body was covered in monstrous baleful qi, and he was like a peerless devil king that was terrifying to the extreme. Humph! A cold grunt resounded from the black hole ahead, and then countless rays of sword light instantly lit up. The terrifying rays of sword light carried a piercingly cold aura as they shot into the 9 heavens, and they instantly slashed all the black holes in the surroundings apart. Old dog of the Duan clan, today is the day you die. Lin Xian's black hair fluttered as he stood in the air to the point he seemed like a war god. What's that? At the next moment, everyone looked up at the sky and cried out in shock. They discovered that there was a green domain within 30 meters of Lin Xian. Countless sword qi surged within it, and it was terrifying to the extreme. As for Ancestor Morong, the Happy King, and the other 4 people, their pupils contracted and their faces were filled with shock. King domain. How is this possible? Damn it, is he a king tier? It can't be, right? Has he already broken through? Cries of surprise rang out one after another. These voices all came from the 5 king tiers. Hearing the king's exclamation, the surrounding martial artists were even more shocked and stunned. What? That cyan sword light domain is a king domain. King's domain? Isn't that something that only kings can possess? How could Lin Xian have it? Could it be that he's already a king? Everyone was shocked once again. As for young Master Anil, young Master Moonwalker, and young Master Qilin, their faces turned pale, and their bodies began to tremble. King's domain. His opponent actually had a king's domain. How could this be? Especially young Master Qilin. A deep sense of fear appeared in his eyes. As a genius of a king family, he naturally knew what a king's domain meant. However, he did not dare to believe it. A kid in his 20s, who was even younger than him, had actually become a king. This completely overturned his understanding. It was laughable that he had been dismissive of this before. Thinking of this, his entire body was covered in cold sweat. The other 2 young masters also twitched the corners of their mouths in disbelief. As for the martial artists of the Duan family, their faces were filled with horror. King's domain? This is impossible. The Duan family's ancestors' pupils constricted as if he had seen a ghost. He screamed loudly. He had just broken through to become a king, so he naturally knew how difficult it was to break through. One had to know that he was now more than 1,000 years old, and had just become a king. He knew very well how difficult it was to break through. However, the other party was a young man in his 20s. How could he become a king? This was no longer a genius. This was definitely a monster. No, this kind of person. He could not be allowed to live. Otherwise, he would be a nightmare for the Duan family in the future. The Duan family's ancestor felt a chill in his heart, and his expression was ferocious. Because he realized that the young man in front of him had completely exceeded his expectations. He was too terrifying. He had to get rid of him to prevent future troubles. Kid, I want you dead. The Duan family's ancestor's expression was terrifying as he roared crazily. In the next moment, countless golden mists rushed out of his body, forming a special golden domain around him. Now that his heart was overflowing with killing intent, he immediately used his strongest domain and decided to kill Lin Xian. Golden domain. Ancestor Murong and the others also narrowed their eyes. To be honest, it was their first time seeing the Duan family's ancestor's domain. Let me see if that kid really has a king's domain. The Shun family's ancestor's voice was cold. To be honest, until now, he still did not believe it. He thought that this was Lin Xian's trick. However, in the next moment, his eyelids twitched wildly, and his expression became abnormally ugly. That was because in front of him, Lin Xian and the Duan family's ancestor had already begun to fight. The Duan family's ancestor used his golden domain, emitting a terrifying aura. He roared angrily, and a pair of golden wings appeared on his back, carrying him over quickly. Boom! In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Lin Xian, and his large hand grabbed forward. Suddenly, the surrounding golden domain shook, and a large golden hand flew out, grabbing toward Lin Xian. This large golden hand was extremely terrifying. There were countless golden patterns on it, and it emitted a mysterious aura. Those below the king level could not resist this large golden hand at all. Lin Xian sneered, pointed his finger like a sword, and pointed it out. Suddenly, the dragon sword domain around him hummed, and countless sword chi quickly condensed, accompanied by his arm, and quickly swung out. The dragon-shaped sword chi was as heavy as a mountain, and as cold as the cold wind. It was extremely terrifying, and it instantly slashed forward. Poof! The entire void was instantly cut in half. The situation was terrifying. Everyone only saw a green dragon fly out from Lin Xian's fingertip, charging into the sky. Then, it roared and charged toward the Duan family's ancestor. The sword chi was like a real dragon, and it made people's hearts palpitate. Clang! In the next moment, the dragon-shaped sword chi collided with the large golden hand, emitting an earth-shattering sound. At this moment, the entire valley completely exploded. The ground cracked, and then the valley was split in half. Dozens of black cracks appeared in the sky. These were spatial cracks, and they were extremely terrifying and contained extremely powerful power. At this moment, they were all around Lin Xian and the Duan family's ancestor, and they were extremely ferocious. What? He blocked it. Seeing this scene, the hearts of the kings beat wildly. The Duan family's ancestor's expression also became extremely ugly. He knew that Lin Xian's dragon sword domain was not illusory, nor was it a trick. It was a true king's domain. Otherwise, it would be impossible to block his attack. Chapter 1458. The Duan family's patriarch's face turned ugly. He knew that Lin Xian's dragon sword realm was not illusory, nor was it a trick. It was a true king's realm. Otherwise, it would not have been able to block his attack. I don't believe it. Go to hell. The Duan family's patriarch went crazy. He stood in the golden realm, and his entire body was wrapped in golden mist, forming a golden armor. His originally gray pupils turned golden, and emitted 2 golden rays of light that pierced through the void. He waved his golden fist again, and smashed it towards Lin Xian. The fist grew bigger with the wind, and finally became like a golden mountain, pushing through the void. Waves of air rolled, and the air exploded. The golden waves were like a real sea, surging in all directions. Humph! Lin Xian snorted again, and directly used the great dragon sword soul to create all things. Suddenly, a black figure appeared in the dragon sword realm, and sat there cross-legged. Its entire body was formed by black flames. It was Lin Xian's black flame martial soul. The black flame martial soul burned and turned into a black phoenix that rushed out. The huge figure rampaged in the air, and a terrifying heat wave spread in all directions. Suddenly, the entire valley burned violently. The sky and the ground were filled with black flames in all directions. The Duan family's warriors below were wrapped in the flames and screamed. Under such black flames, they had no power to resist. However, these were only the flames that fell from the Black Phoenix. One could imagine how terrifying the Black Phoenix was. "Kid, you're courting death." The Duan family's patriarch roared crazily. He naturally realized that hundreds of his Duan family's disciples had died in an instant. His heart was bleeding. However, he had no time to spare because the Black Phoenix was still rushing over. It carried monstrous black flames and quickly blasted towards him. Boom boom. The intense collision shook heaven and earth. Endless waves of black flames surged out, and the terrifying black flames seemed to ignite the Golden Realm. "Get lost!" The Duan family's patriarch roared and crazily pushed the Golden Realm. Immediately, dozens of large golden hands appeared in the sky and quickly slapped in all directions, extinguishing the black flames. Before the Duan clan's patriarch could heave a sigh of relief, another terrifying attack came at him. Within Lin Xian's dragon sword domain, another lightning figure appeared and sat cross-legged. This was Lin Xian's lightning martial soul. In the next moment, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning, forming a gigantic Qiongqi that stood tall in the sky and cracked the void. A roar reverberated for thousands of miles. The clouds in the sky split apart, and the surrounding mountains exploded. It was terrifying to the extreme. "Retreat!" The surrounding martial artists screamed as if they had gone mad. This was because they discovered that the battle was too terrifying. Everywhere was filled with berserk energy. They could only quickly retreat to a safe place. However, no one left. They hid in the distance and watched the battle again. Because this was too shocking and too exciting, they might not be able to witness a battle between two kings in their lifetime. If they missed this opportunity, they might not have another chance in the future. In the sky, Qiongqi's gigantic body was completely formed by purple and white lightning. As he walked, countless lightning bolts spread across the sky. "Kill!" The gigantic Qiongqi stood in the void and let out a terrifying roar. Then, he lifted his gigantic lightning foot and stomped down on the Duan family's patriarch. "You've gone too far. I'm going to kill you." The Duan family's patriarch went mad. His eyes emitted a golden light that was like a sharp knife that cut through the void. His golden realm was also operating rapidly. Then, a golden giant rose from the ground and fought against Qiongqi. Boom, boom, boom. The two gigantic creatures exchanged blows in the sky. The terrifying energy caused the sky to explode. The Duan family's patriarch went completely mad. He realized that his opponent was too powerful, and he could not suppress him. He could not believe it. One had to know that his opponent was only in his 20s. He was more than 1,000 years old. Yet his opponent's strength far exceeded his. He could not accept it. Lin Xian became more courageous as the battle went on. "You've gone too far. When you stole the God of War palace and killed my martial artists, did you think about how far you've gone? You only have yourself to blame for everything that has happened today." Lin Xian snorted. Then he waved his arm. Countless green sword chi surrounded him and formed a gigantic green sword. Qiongqi held it in his hand and slashed down. Boom! A beam of cyan sword light, thousands of meters long, swept across like a long cyan river. Suddenly, countless green sword chi surrounded the sky. It was as if the entire sky had turned into a green ocean. In the next moment, the terrifying green sword light swept across the golden giant and split it in half. Boom! As for the Duan family's patriarch, he was sent flying again, as if he had been struck by lightning. What? He was sent flying again? Everyone was shocked. They could not believe it. Even Patriarch Murong and the other king's mouths twitched. One had to know that being sent flying this time was different from the previous time. The previous time, the Duan family's patriarch was careless. It was equivalent to a sneak attack. That was why he was sent flying. But now, the Duan family's patriarch had used his king's domain and attacked with all his strength. However, he was still sent flying. This was too shocking. This meant that not only did his opponent have a king's domain, but his strength had also surpassed the Duan family's patriarch. Thinking of this, everyone's scalps went numb. They could not believe it. Patriarch Morong, Din Xian, and the others all looked serious. No, did you notice? This kid doesn't have a king's aura. The happy monarch frowned and said, "Yes, that's true." Patriarch Morong nodded. He had also noticed this abnormality. Logically speaking, kings all had an aura called king's aura. However, Lin Xian did not have such an aura. It was indeed strange. What? You mean that kid is not a king? The Shen family's patriarch frowned. If he's not a king, where did his king's domain come from? Din Xian was also deep in thought. He could not understand. This was too strange. Someone who was not a king could condense a king's domain. This was something that could not be done. However, the other party had done it. It was extremely strange. Should we take action and capture this kid? The Shen family's patriarch's expression was cold. This kid is too strange. Maybe he has some shocking secret. If we capture him and study him, maybe we can have a few more kings for our family. At the end of his words, a hint of passion appeared in his eyes. He could not help but be tempted. If the other party really had a way to condense a king's domain, then their family could definitely have a few more kings. This way, their family's strength would greatly increase. Chapter 1459. Humph. You can try. Din Xian snorted coldly as her cold gaze descended onto the Shun clan's ancestor. She wouldn't allow the Shun clan's ancestor to attack. The Shun clan's ancestor waved his sleeve and ignored Din Xian. He turned around and spoke to Ancestor Morong and the Happy King. The two of you shouldn't hesitate. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Don't you want to know what secrets that brat has? That's the secret to condensing a king domain. If we come, we might be able to break through again. Break through again. The Happy King and Ancestor Murong's eyelids twitched. If the previous reason had made them hesitate, then they couldn't help but be tempted by this reason. After all, they'd been in the king realm for a long time, but they hadn't been able to break through and had reached a bottleneck. Perhaps they wouldn't be able to break through in their lifetime, but now there was a trace of hope. They couldn't help but be tempted. After all, breaking through to a higher realm could not only increase one's strength, but also increase one's lifespan. That was the most tempting. Thus, at that moment, Ancestor Murong and the Happy King both revealed tempted expressions. Din Xian's face sank, and her heart thumped. Not good. He could see that the Happy King and Ancestor Murong were tempted. If the three of them joined forces, he wouldn't be able to resist them at all. Are you two really willing to do such a despicable thing? Din Xian asked coldly. Despicable? How is this despicable? Don't you want to extend your lifespan? Obtain strength? The Shun clan's ancestor snorted coldly. Din Xian and the Shun clan's ancestor started to argue. At the same time, the situation of the battle changed again. After the Duan clan's ancestor was blasted away, he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't believe that a 20-year-old youth could injure him. Moreover, it was under the circumstances that had used his full strength. Ah, kid, you forced me to do this. I want you dead. The Duan clan's ancestor roared madly, and a trace of ferocity appeared in his eyes. Obviously, he was going to use a secret technique and attack at all costs. Sure enough, in the next moment, the Duan clan's ancestor waved his hand and formed a strange seal. Then the golden domain around him started to burn. The golden mist transformed into streaks of golden flames that burned fiercely, releasing unparalleled power. The Duan clan's old ancestor's aura suddenly skyrocketed, and it was twice as powerful as before. What? Burning domain? The four king tiers stopped their debate, and their pupils abruptly contracted. Was this fellow crazy? The domain was the foundation of a king, but the Duan clan's old ancestor was actually burning the domain. This was destroying his own foundation. Even if he won, he would probably suffer heavy injuries, and he might even fall back to the king realm. This was definitely a method of harming the enemy, at the cost of 800 of his own men. The Duan family's patriarch knew this as well, but there was nothing he could do. Previously, he had used his full strength, but he was still not a match for the other party. If this continued, he would be killed sooner or later. He might as well ignite the burning domain and fight to the death. Perhaps he might still have a glimmer of hope. At this moment, the old master of the Duan family ignited his domain and became stronger once again. In the next moment he attacked Lin Xian fiercely. His messy hair fluttered in the wind, and flames surrounded him, making it impossible to look at him directly. Terrifying energy fluctuations were everywhere, causing the entire void to shake violently. Not only that, but the patriarch of the Duan family was also wearing a golden armor. He pulled out a golden longsword from his golden domain and slashed in all directions. This was the power of the burning domain of the king realm. It was extremely terrifying, and even ordinary one-star kings would not be able to resist it. A golden sword light flashed, accompanied by countless golden flames, and rushed towards Lin Xian. Wherever it passed, the entire void was quickly annihilated. With a thought, Lin Xian's starry armor quickly appeared on his body. This time, he did not resist it head-on, because the power of the burning domain was too terrifying. He did not dare to take it head-on. However, this did not mean that he was afraid of the other party. This was because although his body had not reached the king realm, his combat strength had already surpassed the Duan family's patriarch. Moreover, ever since he killed the Black Dragon Sect's patriarch, he had not stopped cultivating. Therefore, his strength was much stronger than when he was in the Tianan region. Lightning runes flickered under his feet, and Lin Xian moved quickly, dodging the terrifying golden sword light. Kid, are you afraid? Go to hell. Seeing the other party dodge, the Duan family's patriarch revealed a trace of malevolence. He knew that he had succeeded because when he fought with Lin Xian previously, the other party had never dodged and had always taken it head-on. Now that the other party had dodged, it meant that the other party was afraid of this power. While the power was still there, he would kill the other party in one fell swoop. The Duan family's patriarch smiled sinisterly. Then, the golden flames on his body became even more monstrous. Rays of golden sword chi surged like divine rainbows and quickly enveloped Lin Xian. Kid, I don't know how you obtained the king realm, but you can't compare to a real king. Now go to hell. Hundreds of golden sword lights arrived above Lin Xian and were about to slash down. If he was hit, his flesh and blood would definitely splatter everywhere. Even an immortal would not be able to save him. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a green dragon-shaped sword shadow quickly appeared beside him. In the next moment he grabbed it. Roar! A loud dragon roar sounded, and a huge green dragon instantly rushed out of the dragon sword domain, looking disdainfully in all directions. This dragon roar was too loud, and it directly resounded for thousands of miles. Countless thunderclaps sounded in the entire void, descending in all directions. As for the azure dragon, it soared into the sky and blasted away all of the golden sword chi above. What? This is impossible. The Duan family's patriarch was shocked and could not believe it. His opponent's strength had increased again? How was this possible? Could it be that he was hiding his strength before? Thinking of this, his heart thumped wildly. He really could not believe it. His current strength was obtained by burning his king realm, but his opponent's strength had suddenly skyrocketed. What was going on? His opponent did not burn his king realm. The only explanation was that his opponent had not used his full strength before. Thinking of this, a hint of despair appeared in the Duan family's patriarch's eyes. His opponent was too powerful. Even if he burned his king realm, he still could not do anything to his opponent. This was an outcome he had never imagined in his life. On the other hand, Lin Xian's black hair fluttered in the wind, and his entire body exuded an extremely terrifying battle intent. He was like a god of war. The dragon pattern under his feet rose, and a green dragon quickly appeared. Within the dragon sword domain, tens of thousands of swords roared. In his hand, there was a dragon-shaped sword shadow, and his entire person could be said to be extremely powerful. At this moment, the great dragon sword soul was displayed to the extreme by Lin Xian. Brilliant heavenly might. A sword chi like a divine sword slashed into the sky, instantly enveloping the Duan family's patriarch. At this moment, not only was the Duan family's patriarch in despair, but even the Morong family's patriarch, the Happy King, the Shen family's patriarch, and Din Xian were shocked. Chapter 1460. Poof! In the next moment, the Duan family's patriarch was struck by the shocking sword chi, and was sent flying. Blood splattered across the sky as the void cracked open. The terrifying crack extended for thousands of miles. A bottomless abyss appeared on the ground. The Duan family's patriarch was blasted into the ground. No one knew if he was dead or alive. After a long time, the terrifying vibrations gradually disappeared. The Duan family's patriarch's body was trembling. He was severely injured. Beside him, the golden domain was very dim, as if it would shatter at any time. The Duan family's patriarch lay on the ground with a face full of despair. His lips trembled and he could not speak. Despair. It was too much despair. He could not resist this power at all. It was not only despair in terms of strength, but also despair in terms of spirit. Originally, he had just broken through to become an overlord, and was in high spirits, thinking that he could surpass the entire continent. However, he did not expect that he would be severely injured and almost die. The feeling of falling from the clouds into the abyss was too unbearable. He could not bear it at all. At the thought of this, the Duan family's patriarch vomited blood again. Lin Xian's face was cold. He held the killing sword in his hand and stepped into the air. walking towards the Duan family's patriarch step by step. You. What are you trying to do? Seeing this, everyone's scalps went numb, and they were dumbfounded. The Duan family's elders quickly flew over to stop Lin Xian. Our patriarch has already lost. Why are you still attacking? That's right. The competition is over. Don't push your luck. Although the Duan family's martial artists were afraid, it was related to their patriarch's safety. Therefore they could only bite the bullet. The competition is over? Lin Xian sneered. Who told you this was a competition? If the Duan family's old dog doesn't die, this matter will not end. Lin Xian snorted. 2 balls of black flames appeared in his eyes, and instantly enveloped the few people in front of him. With a scream, a few Duan family's elders were burned to ashes. Seeing this, everyone felt a chill in their hearts. The remaining Duan family members did not dare to step forward again. In the sky, the Shen family's patriarch snorted. This is your last chance. If the 2 of you don't attack, I'm afraid you won't be able to catch that kid again. With that, his body swayed and he disappeared in the air. How dare you? Headmaster Xian snorted and quickly chased after him. Ancestor Murong and the Happy King looked at each other and quickly attacked as well. Whoosh! Whoosh! The next moment, 4 figures appeared in midair, blocking the path again. What? Someone else is attacking? Seeing this scene, no one dared to believe it. Who would dare to stop Lin Xian now? However, when they saw the 4 figures in the sky, they were all stunned. The reason for that was because those 4 figures were none other than the 4 patriarchs of the Shen clan. 4 king tiers. The appearance of the 4 shocked everyone. Lin Xian furrowed his brows when he saw this. Brat, you're too arrogant. The old ancestor of the Shen family stared at Lin Xian with a gloomy gaze. His voice was piercingly cold. At the side, Ancestor Murong and the Happy King's figures also appeared. Din Xian appeared beside Lin Xian. Be careful. They might attack you. Din Xian quickly sent a message to him. Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned and looked ahead. Get lost. This is between me and the Duan clan. Lin Xian stared at the old ancestor of the Shen clan and scolded him coldly. What? Hearing this voice, everyone's scalp went numb. They could not believe it. Lin Xian dared to scold the old ancestor of the Shen clan? He was truly audacious. The old ancestor of the Shen clan was trembling with anger. Brat, you're too arrogant. I'm not a new king-tier king like Duan Wang. If you offend me, you won't have a good ending. Indeed, the old ancestor of the Shen clan was not like the old ancestor of the Duan clan. He had become a king a few hundred years ago. Until now, his strength was unfathomable. At the side, the Happy King shook his head slightly. Young man, you should know when to advance and when to retreat. Ancestor Murong also sighed. Enough is enough. Hearing this, everyone was shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect that the 3 kings would attack and stop Lin Xian at the same time. Could it be that they wanted to protect the old ancestor of the Duan clan? Seeing this, the martial artists of the Duan clan were excited. The old ancestor of the Duan clan, who was in the ruins below, also heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly took out an indestructible golden elixir and swallowed it. Then the injuries on his body healed. However, the golden territory was still very dim. It could not be helped. Although the indestructible golden elixir was magical, it could not restore the king territory. Seeing that the 3 kings had attacked, Shin Jingqiu was also very nervous. Her small hands pinched the corner of her clothes tightly. On the other side, Murong Qingqing exclaimed, Old ancestor. She did not expect the old ancestor of the Murong clan to attack. At the side, the elders of the Murong clan shook their heads and sighed. Qingqing, this is the old ancestor's decision. We can't change it. Murong Qingqing sighed. To be honest, she was not worried about Lin Xian's safety. Instead, she was worried about the safety of the old ancestor of the Murong clan. Because she had followed Lin Xian all this time, she knew about Lin Xian's strength and background. The 3 kings in the sky could not stop Lin Xian at all. Indeed, in the next moment, Lin Xian stopped in his tracks. Looking at the 3 kings in front of him, he said coldly, Are you really going to stop me? Kid, I admit that you are very powerful. However, in front of us, you have no right to behave atrociously. The old ancestor of the Shen clan snorted in disdain. His expression was unusually cold. A terrifying aura was emitted from his body. That aura was much more terrifying than the old ancestor of the Duan clan, who was burning his territory. From this, it could be seen that the old ancestor of the Shen clan was indeed very powerful. Kid, let's not talk about how you are no match for me. Just the number of kings on your side is not enough. Including Old Man Xian, you only have 2 people. On the other hand, there are 3 of us. There is even the old ancestor of the Duan clan. 4 kings. Do you think you have a chance of winning? Young man, stop. The old ancestor of the Morong clan shook his head and sighed. The happy monarch also said coldly, if you continue fighting, you have no chance of winning. The old ancestor of the Shen clan had a ferocious look on his face. Kid, let go of the old ancestor of the Duan clan, and come back with me obediently. Otherwise you will suffer a terrible fate. Go back with you? Let go of the old ancestor of the Duan clan? Who do you think you are? How dare you order me around? Hearing the old ancestor of the Shen clan, Lin Xian snorted in disdain. What? You dare to resist? The old ancestor of the Shen clan was stunned. He could not believe his ears. He did not expect that the other party would dare to resist. One had to know that they had an absolute advantage. Whether it was a one-on-one battle or the number of kings, they could easily crush Lin Xian. However, the other party still dared to scold him? Was he not afraid of death? The surrounding warriors were also shocked. Chapter 1461. It's over, it's over. Lin Xian is too arrogant. First, he defeated the Duan family patriarch. Now he's fighting with the Shen family patriarch. Yeah, he's too arrogant. The Shen family patriarch became a king a few hundred years ago. His strength is terrifying. How can that kid defeat him? Other than the Shen family patriarch, there's also the Morong family patriarch and the Happy King. That's 3 kings. Together with the Duan family patriarch on the ground, that's 4 kings. Lin Xian, that kid, how dare he speak so arrogantly? Everyone was shocked. They all thought that Lin Xian had gone crazy. They didn't know where Lin Xian's confidence came from. In everyone's opinion, Lin Xian was really crazy. How dare he fight with 3 kings? Wasn't he courting death? The Duan family patriarch smiled sinisterly. Lin Xian still wanted to kill him. He deserved to die. However, Lin Xian no longer had the chance. With the Shen family patriarch and the others, he was absolutely safe. In the sky, the Shen family patriarch smiled cruelly. Kid, since you're so stubborn, don't blame me for being impolite. After saying that, he took a step forward. His aura suddenly exploded. The entire sky surged. A huge light pillar gushed out from the Shen family patriarch and pierced through the sky. A terrifying energy storm swept out in all directions. Opposite him, Din Xian's expression was solemn. He quickly said, Lin Xian, now's not the time to be stubborn. Leave with me quickly. If you're caught by them, you'll be in danger. That Shen family patriarch is too sinister. He wants to know your secrets. Hearing that, Lin Xian frowned. He looked at the Shen family patriarch with a murderous look in his eyes. How dare the Shen family patriarch set his sights on him? He was really courting death. However, he didn't run away. Instead, he shook his head slightly. Din Xian, don't worry. I have a way to deal with it. Din Xian wanted to say something, but Lin Xian waved his hand and said, Ruffian dragon Ninetails, come here. Ha ha ha, I've waited for so long. Finally, I'm here. The dark red divine dragon laughed weirdly. Ninetails jumped out of Morong King Cheng's arms and flew into the sky reluctantly. Everyone was stunned. They didn't understand what a fox and a 4-legged snake could do. Din Xian was also confused, but seeing Lin Xian's confident look, he didn't say anything. On the other hand, the Chen family's ancestor sneered in disdain. Brat, you really are an idiot. Do you really think that you can scare us with a fox and a 4-legged snake? There was a look of disdain on his face as he said, Unless these 2 are king tiers, how are you going to defeat me? Hearing this, the Duan clan's ancestor coldly snorted in disdain. The surrounding Duan clan's cultivators all sneered. The fox and the snake were kings? How could this be? Do you think that kings are cabbages? Do you think they'll appear whenever you want? On the other hand, the dark red Shen Long looked unhappy. Old man, I'll remember you. I'll teach you a lesson later. As he spoke, he let out a long howl. Suddenly, a loud and clear dragon roar resounded in all directions. Then, under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the dark red divine dragon's body burst out with a bright light. That 1-meter-long body rapidly expanded, forming a divine dragon that was 100 feet long. A red divine dragon appeared in the sky, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. It coiled around the clouds and spat out fog. Its expression was extremely ferocious. A terrifying aura was emitted from its body. That aura was not any weaker than the Chen family's ancestor and the rest. What? Divine dragon? King? At this moment, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect that an inconspicuous 4-legged snake was actually a legendary divine dragon. And it was a king. That was too shocking. One had to know that this was a new king tier. How many kings were there in the Tianmu continent? Every time one of them appeared, it would be a shocking event. However, they did not know when another king of the dragon god had appeared. And it was a divine dragon. It was even more mysterious. That was a legendary creature. On this continent, there were only flood dragons. A real dragon had never appeared before. But now it had appeared. Everyone was in an uproar, exclaiming in disbelief. Looking at the huge figure in the sky, they were extremely shocked. What? How is this possible? Below, the smile on the Duan family's ancestor's face disappeared, and his expression became abnormally ferocious. He didn't expect that the other party had really summoned another king tier. And it was a divine dragon. That wasn't good news for him. 3 against 3, they didn't have much of an advantage. Ding Xian was also shocked. As expected, the other party had recovered. As for the Shen family's ancestor Morong, and the Happy King, they were extremely shocked. They didn't expect another king tier to appear. And it was a divine dragon. Especially the Shen family's ancestor. His expression was extremely ugly. He had just mocked the other party, thinking that the other party was dead for sure, and would never be able to escape from their hands. But he didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, a king tier would appear on the other side. Now the strength of both sides was almost the same. After all, the Duan family's ancestor didn't have much combat strength now. However, the Shen family's ancestor was too naive. The matter was not over yet. After the dark red divine dragon transformed, the 9-tailed dragon snorted coldly, and then roared. Roar! The terrifying roar resounded through heaven and earth, bringing with it a dense, baleful aura. In the next moment, the cute body suddenly expanded, and turned into a red mountain-like giant beast. The 9 tails waved in the wind like a river of blood, bringing with it a monstrous killing intent. At that moment, the 9-tailed demon fox no longer had the cute appearance from before. Instead, it was replaced by a ferocious and malevolent look. What? Another king tier. Everyone's faces were pale, and on the verge of collapse. This time, Ding Xian, the Duan family's ancestor, and the Shen family's ancestor, Ancestor Murong, and the Happy King were all stunned. They didn't expect that another king tier would appear. That was too heaven-defying. When did so many kings appear in Tianmu continent? Why didn't they know? Especially the Shen family's ancestor, and the Duan family's ancestor. Their faces were terrifyingly gloomy. The Duan family's house master's face was filled with despair. It was over. He had just grasped the straw of hope, but now he had fallen into the endless abyss again. There were 4 kings on the other side, and they had already surpassed them. With the strength of the Shen family's ancestor and the others, they probably couldn't stop them. Now that he was seriously injured, he couldn't defeat the kings. He didn't expect that in the end. It was still a dead end. Ancestor Murong, and the happy king were shocked. They didn't expect that the other party had really found two kings. As for the Shen family's ancestor, his body was trembling and his teeth were about to shatter. It was a slap in the face, a ruthless slap in the face. And it was swollen. Thinking back to what he had said before, the Shen family's ancestor wished he could just kill himself. Lin Xian had a mocking look on his face as he stared coldly at the Shen family's ancestor. What, you still want to fight now? Chapter 1462. Below, the ninth elder and the others were stunned. They did not expect that their young master would have two other kings by his side. As for Morong Qingqing, she sighed. Sure enough, the thing she did not want to see had happened. But fortunately, from the looks of it, they would not fight anymore. Sure enough, seeing this, Ancestor Morong and the happy king quickly shook their heads. Little friend Lin, you misunderstood. We have no intention of fighting. Since this is a matter between you and the Duan clan, we will not interfere. After saying that, the two of them turned into rainbows and left the sky, flying towards the ground. You two old men. Damn you. Seeing Ancestor Morong and the happy king retreat, Ancestor Shun stomped his feet in anger. His face was extremely ugly. Now that he was alone, even with the Duan clan's ancestor on the ground, he was not a match for them. In the end, he could only clench his teeth and say, Kid, you win. This time, I admit defeat. The Shun family's patriarch could only leave with his tail between his legs. Humph. Lin Xian coldly snorted. To be honest, when he knew that Ancestor Shun was plotting against him, he really wanted to make a move on him. But he also knew that it was not possible. After all, Ancestor Shun was different from Ancestor Duan. He had been a king for hundreds of years, and had a king clan behind him. In addition, with the situation of Tianmu continent, if he made a move on Ancestor Shun, Ancestor Morong, and the happy king would definitely not just stand by and watch. They would definitely come to help. At that time, there would definitely be a great battle between kings, and Tianwu continent would be plunged into misery and suffering. This was not the result he wanted, but now the situation was just right. He had displayed great strength and intimidated ancestor Shun and the others. They would definitely not dare to have any ideas about him. After doing all this, Lin Xian's gaze turned and looked down again, staring at ancestor Duan. The change in the sky was beyond everyone's expectations. No one had expected Lin Xian to summon 2 king tiers in an instant, which gave him an absolute advantage. Even ancestor Shun and the other 2 kings had no choice but to retreat. This was simply too shocking. It should be known that the Shun family's patriarch, the Morong family's patriarch, and the Happy King were all kings who had been famous for a long time. Their strength far surpassed the Duan family's patriarch. Even so, they still retreated in front of Lin Xian. It could be said that in an instant, Lin Xian's prestige had reached its peak. When the Duan clan's patriarch was enveloped by Lin Xian's gaze, his body suddenly trembled as a hint of despair appeared in his eyes. He knew that it was hopeless. Even the Shun clan's patriarch and the other 2 had retreated. No one would stand up for him anymore. Furthermore, what made him feel even more despair was that Lin Xian had 3 kings by his side. No one in the martial heaven continent could resist such a powerful force. The Duan family was probably finished. When he thought of this, a trace of viciousness appeared in the eyes of the Duan family's patriarch. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well drag the enemy down with him. Therefore, in the next moment, the Duan family's patriarch raised his head to the sky and laughed loudly. His voice was unusually ferocious. "Brat, I didn't expect you to have such strength. However, it's impossible for me to surrender. If I can't have it, don't even think about it." Very quickly, the golden domain around the Duan family's patriarch started to burn again. The originally dim golden mist instantly exploded with a resplendent radiance. Not only that, but the Duan family's patriarch's body also started to burn with golden flames. His entire body exploded with a terrifying aura. Not good, he's going to self-destruct. Seeing this scene, Din Xian's expression changed drastically. What? Self-destruct? Hearing this, the surrounding martial artists' eyes were filled with despair. The self-destruction of a king was definitely enough to destroy the entire palace of gods of war. And they would not be able to escape. Damn it, how could this be? Madman, the Duan family is a madman. No, patriarch, don't self-destruct. At this moment, everyone was crazily shouting, because if the Duan family's patriarch self-destructed, they would not be able to escape. They would only be buried with him. As for the Shun clan's patriarch, the Morong family's patriarch, and the Happy King's faces sank. They did not expect that the Duan family's patriarch would really go crazy and want to self-destruct. If the Duan family's patriarch self-destructed, even if they were afraid, they would only be able to protect a small portion of their clan members. Damn that madman Duan. This time, even the Shun clan's patriarch was gnashing his teeth. Lin Xian's eyes narrowed and a powerful aura exploded from his body. He let out a long roar and instantly raised his combat strength to the maximum. The great dragon sword soul instantly appeared in his hand. Not only that, but a ball of blue aura appeared on the dragon-shaped sword shadow. This was the power of the divine sea weapon. In the next moment, Lin Xian waved his arm and slashed forward. Suddenly, a shocking dragon-shaped sword chi flew out. This dragon-shaped sword chi was extremely terrifying. It was 100 feet long, and there were blue patterns on its surface. It exuded an extremely terrifying frost aura. Everywhere it passed, the entire sky was frozen. What kind of frost aura is this? It's so terrifying. At this moment, even the Morong family's patriarch, the Happy King, and Din Xian were shocked. This was because the frost aura was too terrifying. Even they felt a sense of trepidation. Not only that, but the sharp sword radiance also made their eyelids twitch. This was because they realized that Lin Xian's current strength was even more terrifying than before. D***, how powerful is this kid's combat strength? Why does it feel like there's no upper limit? The kings gasped in shock. The Duan family's patriarch's heart also skipped a beat. In the next moment, He gritted his teeth, and his body suddenly expanded like a rubber ball. In an instant he became the size of a house. The terrifying power spread out, and caused terrifying cracks to appear in the void around him. Haha, die quickly. The Duan family's patriarch went crazy, and was about to self-destruct. However, in the next moment, a sword radiance instantly slashed across his body. What? This is impossible. This was the last thought in the Duan family's patriarch's mind. Then his body froze in the air. A line of blood appeared on his body. Then the golden domain, including the Duan family's patriarch's body, split in half from the middle. Otherwise, the burning golden flames on the golden domain would have frozen in an instant. The entire golden domain, including the Duan family's patriarch's body, was completely covered by the blue frost aura and turned into an ice sculpture. Everyone was stunned. It was not until a long time later that they let out a cry of surprise. This was because this sword radiance was too terrifying. It directly killed the Duan family's patriarch. Not only that, but it also split open the golden domain and completely froze the burning golden flames. It successfully stopped the Duan family's patriarch from self-destructing. The Morong family's patriarch and the others were also shocked. This was because they might not have been able to control the Duan family's patriarch so quickly. However, what they could not do was easily done by a young man in his 20s. Chapter 1463. Even Ancestor Morong and the rest were extremely shocked. Because even if they took action, they might not be able to control the Duan family's ancestor so quickly. However, what they could not do, a young man in his 20s easily did. This made their scalps tingle. Following the formation of the blue ice sculpture, it also indicated that the Duan family's ancestor was completely dead. Everyone was stunned and could not believe it. This was the first king they knew had fallen in battle. Indeed, other than the ancient times, there had not been a single king who had fallen in battle in the past few thousand years. And this Duan family's ancestor was the first. Dead, the ancestor is dead. How is this possible? The Duan family's martial artists had faces of despair, as they all knelt on the ground. They could not believe that their ancestor would die. He was a king. He was the pillar of their family. But now he had been killed. The others also had complicated expressions. A few months ago, the Duan family had risen like a shooting star and became the new king family. It could be said that in the Sky Martial continent, it had set off a storm. At that time, countless factions, families, and sects had all submitted to the Duan family. But who would have thought that in less than half a year, the Duan family's ancestor would be killed? And the Duan family's experts had suffered countless casualties. Now it could be said that they had fallen. I'm not dreaming, right? A king died in front of my eyes? Heavens, this Duan family had just become a king family not long ago, right? And they were beaten down. I'm afraid they will never be able to recover in this lifetime. This Lin Xian is too powerful. Everyone was extremely shocked. As for Lin Xian, he stood in the air and said coldly, "The Duan family killed my God of War Palace's martial artists and seized the God of War Palace's residence. Unforgivable. I really can't think of any reason to spare you." At the end, his voice gradually became sharp. With a wave of his hand, countless black flames instantly surged out and covered the sky and earth. Immediately, the Duan family's martial artists were all burned to ashes. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked again and sucked in a breath of cold air. It's over, it's really over. This time, the Duan family's experts were all killed. Everyone looked at the young figure in the sky, and their bodies trembled quickly. There was nothing he could do about it. This method was simply too ruthless. At this moment, everyone swore in their hearts that from now on, they would not provoke Lin Xian even if they were beaten to death. On the other hand, the ninth elder and the other members of the Palace of Gods of War cheered. Excited, they were too excited. During this period of time, they had been suppressed by the Duan family. Many of their friends and fellow disciples had even been killed by the Duan family. It could be said that he had fallen into despair. And now, they had finally made a comeback. The Duan clan's patriarch had been killed, and the Duan clan had become history. It was impossible for them to contend against them. And the one who created this miracle was their young master, Lin Xian. Lin Xian had annihilated the Duan clan's patriarch and the entire Duan clan in an extremely valiant manner. This scene truly stunned everyone. For a moment, the entire valley was silent. No one dared to speak. Even the kings were silent. They knew that today's matter would have a huge impact. If word of this spread, it would shake the entire continent. As for Lin Xian, he descended from the sky and landed on the ground. The dark red dragon's body swayed and shrunk again. On the other side, the nine-tailed fox turned into her adorable form and jumped back into Murong Qingcheng's arms. Although the dark red dragon and nine-tailed fox had shrunk again, no one dared to underestimate them this time. These were two kings. They were the strongest overlords of the continent. Including Lin Xian, there were three kings. The Palace of Gods of War was going to defy the heavens. However, the people of the Murong clan were also extremely happy. This was because it seemed that the nine-tailed fox belonged to Murong Qingcheng. This meant that the Murong clan had one more king. Thinking of this, the warriors of the Murong clan were excited. Even the Murong clan's patriarch was extremely shocked. After Lin Xian landed, his gaze swept around. Very quickly, he stared at the people of the Divine Bird Palace. Immediately, the warriors of the Divine Bird Palace trembled, especially the palace master of the Divine Bird Palace. His face immediately became ugly. This was the god of death. Even a king like the Duan clan's patriarch was killed, not to mention their Divine Bird Palace. I remember that it was your Divine Bird Palace and the Duan clan who joined forces to suppress me? Right. This debt, how do you plan to settle it? Lin Xian asked coldly. Hearing this, the elders of the Divine Bird Palace were so scared that they peed their pants. The palace master of the Divine Bird Palace was also worried and was about to cry. He was very annoyed. He kicked those elders to death. Why did he have to show off? Now he had provoked this murderous star. The palace master of the Divine Bird Palace was a decisive person. He knew that the entire Divine Bird Palace combined would not be able to defeat Lin Xian. Therefore, he decisively threw out the few elders who had provoked him earlier. Young Master Lin, the previous matter was just these guys acting on their own. Our Divine Bird Palace has nothing to do with the Duan clan. The palace master of the Divine Bird Palace quickly explained, afraid that Lin Xian would be angry. Nothing to do with them? Hearing this, the corners of everyone's mouth twitched. Everyone knew the relationship between the Divine Bird Palace and the Duan clan. But the Divine Bird Palace still dared to say so. Lin Xian also sneered. However, his main enemy was the Duan clan. The other forces were mainly deterred. Therefore, Lin Xian did not do anything to the Divine Bird Palace. However, the few elders who had spoken out to provoke him were all slapped into a bloody mist by him. Bang 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 bang. 5 or 6 elders instantly split open and turned into clouds of bloody mist. Seeing this scene, the crowd was once again stunned. As for the elders of the Chen family, their bodies trembled, and they nearly knelt onto the ground. One must know that they were also involved in suppressing Lin Xian earlier. However, they still resisted the urge to make a sound, because they still had hope in their hearts. In their view, they were different from the Divine Bird Palace. They were the elders of the Shun clan, and had a king behind them. Moreover, the ancestor of the Shun clan was here. No matter how strong the other party was, he would not dare to touch them in front of Lord Xinjia. However, in the next moment, Lin Xian turned his head and looked at the Shun clan warriors. You guys get over here and die. What? The elders of the Shun clan were stunned. The other party dared to attack them? How dare he? Was he not afraid of angering the ancestor of the Shun clan? Sure enough, in the next moment, the ancestor of the Shun clan's face was gloomy. Boy, don't go too far. Too far? Don't see it. Lin Xian sneered. If someone yelled at you in public, would you be indifferent? I didn't chase after the entire Shin clan. I only targeted those who spoke arrogant words. That's already giving you face. If you stop me, don't blame me for waging war on the entire Shin clan. Lin Xian snorted. You. Hearing this, the ancestor of the Shin clan trembled with anger. His face was terrifyingly dark. Chapter 1464. Hearing that, the Shen family's patriarch was so angry that his entire body trembled. His face was terrifyingly dark. This was too hateful. A little brat actually dared to contradict him in public? What a fool. If it was any other time, he would have killed him with a slap. But now, he did not dare to do anything. Because there were 3 Challenger Realm cultivators. Ding Xian was not included. Thinking of that, he gritted his teeth. However, to let the other party kill an elder of the Shen family in front of everyone, this condition, he absolutely could not agree to. Therefore, the Shen family's patriarch took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "You guys, hurry up and apologize to him." Hearing that, everyone was shocked. It seemed that the Shen family's patriarch had given in. They did not expect Lin Xian to be so powerful that even the Shen family's patriarch did not dare to fight him head-on. One was a famous challenger, and the other was a young patriarch's expression. This also clashed between the old and the new generations. Saw that the other party did not blast away his palm. It could be said to be very intense. He had a smug look on his face because he realized that the other party was only faces turned bitter. At most, however, the other party quickly kill the Duan family's and prepared to apologize to Lin Xian. Compared to him, however, Lin Xian sneered. However, he did not expect that there would be an unexpected change. The prestige of a Challenger Realm few elders of the Shen family be violated. That he was protecting today actually let out without a doubt. That was something that he did not expect. The terrifying fist instantly enveloped the Shen family's elders. Bewildered. In the next moment, he released his palm. Seeing that the elders that he was protecting had long been pierced by the sword chi. The Shen family's elders had already made a huge concession by apologizing. Blood was trickling out. It could be said that Lin Xian had earned a lot of reputation. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect the Shen family's patriarch's expression also became extremely cold. The Shen family in his eyes at all. He was too furious. The Shen family's elders were terrified that the other party did not expect such a other party would dare to under his protection. Patriarch, that was a slap to his face in public. Their bodies trembled and they screamed in fear. To his face. Kid, you're courting death. The Shen family's patriarch was so angry that his entire body trembled. He had already made a concession. His was filled with biting cold that had not happened in hundreds of years. He stared fixedly at Lin Xian. However, the other party was not willing to let him go. Did not care at all. He even dared to attack the elders in front of him. Not everyone can provoke him. If he let the other party attack today, he would lose few of them have done something wrong. Therefore, in the next moment, they naturally have to be punished accordingly. The Shen family's patriarch did not do anything wrong and quickly attacked. If you're not convinced or unhappy, a gigantic palm feel free to come and find me and covered the earth. I don't mind starting a war with a few elders. Of course, I hope you thought about the consequences. The terrifying palm emitted a dazzling light that was as vast as the Milky Way. Sense of threat in his words. It quickly enveloped the few elders of the Shen family's patriarch. However, Lin Xian's fist was incomparably terrifying. Strength was inferior to his. It contained a powerful force, but the other party had too many. An angry dragon had come out. If they really fought, bringing with definitely not have the terrifying aura. Therefore, boom, the Shen family's patriarch stood there with a gloomy giant palm. In the end, a terrifying energy fluctuation erupted. I finally causing the entire world to shake violently. However, all kinds of light shot into the sky. One day you'll fall into my hands with an incomparable aura. The Shen family's patriarch snorted coldly. The Shen clan's patriarch must be a king who had been famous for a long time. His strength was incomparably powerful. The Morong family's patriarch and the Happy King also led their people away. Therefore, the other Saxon forces also did not manage to blast away the giant daring to stay any longer. He blocked it. It couldn't be helped. Seeing this scene, everyone was too terrified of relief, especially those forces that had publicly supported the Duan family. Powerful. When they left, their legs were trembling. Although he was strong, afraid that Lin Xian would be strong enough to defy the heavens. But fortunately, in the next moment, Lin Xian did not attack again. Changed. In the end, because within the giant palm, several screams could be heard. Only one the immortal martial academy's martial artists even smell the pungent smell of blood that quickly spread out from the giant palm. Young master, what is this true? How is this possible? You've really become a king? What happened? The ninth elder was shocked and could not believe it. And the other martial artists in the divine palace were very excited. They couldn't help but be excited. The scene was too shocking. First, he used extremely powerful methods to kill the Duan family's patriarch. Then he destroyed the Duan family. Finally, he slapped the Shen family's patriarch's face in front of everyone, causing the other kings to not dare to resist. Such methods could be said to be heaven-defying. Probably no one would have thought that the banquet held by the Duan family's patriarch would have such a result. Ding Xian was also curious. He quickly asked, Lin Xian, what's going on? How did you enter the king realm so quickly? Chapter 1465. Ding Xian was also curious. He quickly asked, Lin Xian, what's going on? How did you enter the King realm so quickly? They naturally didn't know what happened in the Tiannan region, so they were very puzzled. Lin Xian only gave a simple explanation. As for the matter of the subdivine crystals, he wouldn't tell anyone. Next, he asked the ninth elder and the others to return to the Immortal Martial Academy and bring back the remaining martial artists and elders of the Palace of Ares. Because from now on, the Palace of Ares was still theirs. And no one dared to have any ideas about the Palace of Ares. Next, Ding Xian and the others also left. Lin Xian turned around and said to Morong Qingcheng, You've been away from home for a few years. Go back and take a look. All right. Morong Qingcheng nodded. Then I'll come and find you when I miss you. Morong Qingcheng hugged Ninetailed and also left. Luo Bingshan didn't leave and stayed here. Lin Xian asked her, and a few elders of the Palace of Ares, to start cleaning up the battlefield and the Palace of Ares in preparation for the return of the other martial artists. The next few days were very peaceful. The Palace of Ares was restored to its original state, and Lin Xian began to recuperate and continue cultivating. Now that the Duan clan had been eliminated by him, he started to prepare to leave the Tianwu continent and head to the real true spirit world. Of course, the most important point was to find enough energy to operate the Black Earth. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be able to leave. He planned to wait for the martial artists of the Palace of Ares to return and let them search for it. After all, this kind of thing definitely couldn't be found in a day or two, so he had to borrow the power of the Palace of Ares. However, during this period, Lin Xian didn't stay idle. Besides cultivating, he also headed to the depths of the Palace of Ares. To be precise, he went to the place where Lin Zhan was in seclusion. He wanted to see if his father had come out of seclusion. The 10,000 Spirits Valley was still as beautiful and quiet as before. A figure quickly landed outside the Myriad Spirit Valley, like a sword light. This figure was naturally Lin Xian. This was already his third time here, but he didn't see his father 3 times. This made him a little disappointed. However, he still came every few days and cultivated in the periphery of the Myriad Spirits Valley. Originally, he thought that it would be the same as before, and that nothing would happen. But this time, it was beyond his expectations. Not long after he arrived, a voice suddenly came from the Myriad Spirit Valley. Little Xian, you've come. This voice was unusually calm. Father. Lin Xian was still sitting cross-legged, but when he heard this voice, he immediately stood up and shouted excitedly. You've come out of seclusion? Not yet. It will take some time. However, I just woke up from my cultivation and found you here. Lin Zhan said in a low voice. After that, the father and son had a long talk. Lin Xian told Lin Zhan everything that had happened in detail. After Lin Zhan heard this, he was also shocked. I've also explored the Devil Abyss. I didn't expect it to be the burial ground of the 4th-generation successor of the Dragon Sword. It is indeed rare for you to have such an opportunity. Father, I still have some substandard divinity crystals. How can I give them to you? Substandard divinity crystals? How about this? Let's enter the world in your body. Then you can pass them to me through that world. After saying that, the voice was filled with boundless profoundness. Then, Lin Xian felt his mind tremble, and the scene around him changed once again. When he recovered, he realized that he had come to the mysterious world in his body again. Purple thunder divine bamboo grew beside him, and there were spiritual herbs all over the ground. There was also the 1,000-beast cauldron beside him. In front of him was a withered tree of God. On the other side of the tree of God was Lin Zhan. Lin Zhan waved his arm, and a golden whirlpool appeared in front of him. Little Xian, put the substandard divinity crystals into this whirlpool, and you can pass them to me. I don't need too many. Just give me 10 pieces. Oh, Lin Xian nodded. He had 30 pieces, and wanted to give them to his father. However, Lin Zhan only wanted 10 pieces, so he had no choice. Soon, he put the 10 pieces of substandard divinity crystals into the golden whirlpool. After that, the golden whirlpool spun and enveloped the 10 pieces of substandard divinity crystals. Then it gradually disappeared. This is enough. Lin Jian nodded. I still have some time before I can come out of seclusion. You don't have to be disappointed. We will reunite one day. After that, he looked at Lin Xian again and said slowly, You were able to condense the king domain so early. It is indeed beyond my expectations. Since you have met the 4th generation successor of the dragon sword, you should have a cultivation technique for cultivating the king domain, right? Yes, I do have a cultivation technique. Lin Xian nodded. Although the 4th generation successor of the dragon sword was no longer around, He Tu was still around. He had many cultivation techniques in his hands, and they were all used by the 4th generation successor. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't lack cultivation techniques for cultivating the king domain. That's good. Just cultivate the 4th generation successor's cultivation technique. However, there is one thing. You must continue cultivating the art of longevity. You must not stop. This cultivation technique is more magical than you think. It can support you through the king realm. Also, when your physical body enters the king realm, you can try to enter the world in your body. Here you'll get unexpected gains. Hearing this, Lin Xian was even more confused. It seemed like his father knew about the art of longevity and the mysterious small sword. Father, what is the grade of the art of longevity? Also, what is the mysterious small sword and the world in my body? You won't understand even if I tell you now. You will know one day. Lin Jian shook his head slightly. However, I can tell you about the difference of 10 years. Hearing this, Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. This question had been bothering him for a long time, because his father had only left home for 5 years. However, in the Tianmu continent, there seemed to have been 15 years of history. Lin Xian didn't know that there was a difference of 10 years. Now that he heard that his father was going to solve the mystery, he was naturally excited. Actually, it is very simple. I have only left for 5 years. In other words, I left the Sword Pool Mansion with you, Lin Jian said in a deep voice. What? You left with me? Then what about the 15 years here? Lin Xian was confused. There is no difference in time between the 2 continents. I have only been in the Tianmu continent for 5 years. However, if we count the time now, it should be 8 years. The extra 10 years are actually an illusion. Illusion? What do you mean? Lin Xian was even more confused as he listened. To be precise, the people in the Tianmu continent were affected by the illusion. They thought that 15 years had passed, but in fact it was only 5 years. What? They were affected by the illusion? Lin Xian was shocked. You are saying that everyone was affected by the illusion? How is that possible? He was too shocked. How many people are there in the Tianmu continent? Billions. So many people were affected by the illusion? Chapter 1466. It should be known that the casting of illusions normally required soul power. What level of soul power did one need to cast the same illusions on billions of people? Furthermore, they still believed in it. Father, how did you do it? Why did you add another 10 years? Lin Zhan sighed. This world is far more magical than you can imagine. I think you should know the general situation of this world. I know about the true spirit world. Lin Xian nodded. Since you know about the true spirit world, then you should also know that the Sky Martial continent is actually an island. In the real big world, it's nothing. And that vast true spirit world is extremely magical. It's far beyond your imagination. Therefore, it's not difficult to cast an illusion on everyone on the island. Of course, you still can't understand that method. Lin Zhan said, I'm not as magical as you think. I can create such a huge illusion mainly because of an eye. I once obtained an eye. It's the eye of a certain race on the true spirit continent. This eye has been cultivated to an extremely high level. I don't even need to use any power. I only need to activate it, and I can create an extremely terrifying illusion. I used this illusion to make everyone on the Sky Martial continent think that I've arrived here long ago. As for the reason, it's naturally to integrate with them. I need the dragon fountain in the Thousand Spirit Valley. Lin Zhan said slowly, and I could cast an illusion on billions of people. When Lin Xian heard that, his mouth fell open in disbelief. What kind of eye could be so terrifying? According to what his father said, it was a certain race on the true spirit world. Could the real big world be so terrifying? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. He now knew how the extra 10 years came about. He also knew why Lin Zhuan wanted to extend it by 10 years. However, he had even more doubts. For example, what was that eye? What race was that? Also, why was Lin Zhan in such a hurry to occupy the dragon fountain? Could there be some other secrets? However, Lin Zhan didn't tell him these things. What do you plan to do next? Just as Lin Xian was deep in thought, Lin Zhan asked again. I want to go to the real great world and see how magical it is. Upon hearing Lin Xian's words, Lin Zhan nodded. Indeed, this place is too small. You should go to the real big world to take a look. However, that place is far more dangerous than this place. Although there is almost no danger here. Once you reach the real great world, you will likely encounter countless dangers. You have to be mentally prepared for this. I know. Lin Xian nodded. He too had told him about this before. As the successor of the dragon sword, he would definitely receive countless challenges and threats. There were even people who wanted to scheme against his great dragon sword soul. These were all within his expectations, but no matter what danger there was, he would still try it. However, Lin Zhan shook his head slightly. Do you still remember why you were chased out of Sword Pool Mansion back then? Do you remember why you can't cultivate? Lin Xian's question was like a clap of thunder. It made Lin Xian extremely shocked. Of course, he wouldn't forget these things. Previously, he couldn't cultivate at all. This didn't mean that he was trash. On the contrary, his talent was extremely high. He was definitely a top genius. In the beginning, he was unable to cultivate because he had been sealed. Back then, the spirit meridians in his body were sealed by a black lotus. He couldn't cultivate at all. If it wasn't for that mysterious small sword, he wouldn't even be able to cultivate. However, what did Lin Zhan mean by saying this now? Could it be that the black lotus in his body didn't exist for no reason? Was it specifically targeting him? Thinking about the true spirit continent that he was about to go to, Lin Xian's expression was uncertain. He asked in a deep voice, Father, could it be that the person who sealed me back then is now in the true spirit continent? That's right. He is in that world. Lin Zhan nodded. Hearing this, Lin Xian's expression darkened. Father, who exactly is he? Why did he seal me? He is a very terrifying enemy. You are no match for him now. Even I am no match for him. Lin Zhan said in a deep voice. If I tell you now, it will only add to your troubles. You might even be in danger. However, I have to remind you that when you enter the real world, you must be careful of people with the black lotus mark on them. In front of these people, you must not reveal the secret that you have the great dragon sword soul. Otherwise, you will be hunted down endlessly. Try your best to hide your identity. If you are really discovered, you must be killed immediately. You must not let these people spread the news back. Lin Zhan's expression was very serious. Obviously, this matter was very troublesome. Lin Xian's expression was also very serious. Although Lin Zhan didn't say much, he could feel the seriousness of this matter, and how terrifying that Black Lotus was. Thinking about it, this Black Lotus was also an extremely terrifying existence in the real world. Don't worry, father. I will be careful. Lin Xian took a deep breath and nodded seriously. I believe in you, with your talent and the great dragon sword soul. As long as you continue to grow, your future will be limitless. Lin Zhan finally revealed a trace of a smile. However, the path of martial arts is very dangerous. It is extremely difficult. There will definitely be countless difficulties and obstacles on this path. I hope that you will have a firm martial heart and never give up. This is because willpower and confidence are sometimes more important than talent. The father and son talked for a long time. In the end, Lin Zhan's figure disappeared again. Lin Xian also left the mysterious space and returned to the periphery of the Wanling Valley. Since he knew about his father's situation, there was no need for him to guard here all day. His figure flashed and he left the Wanling Valley. In the following days, Lin Xian desperately raised his cultivation level and continuously comprehended the dragon sword territory. On the other side, the ninth elder and the rest led the remaining warriors and elders of the Palace of Gods of War back to the Palace of Gods of War. When they found out about what happened that day, they were all stunned. None of them dared to believe it. However, when they returned to the Palace of Gods of War and saw the scene here, they finally relaxed. Then, they looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Agitated, too agitated. Originally, they thought that they would leave the Palace of Gods of War forever and never return. However, they didn't expect that not long after they would return again. Of course, this was all thanks to Lin Xian. Not only them, but the outside world was also in an uproar. Chapter 1467. It couldn't be helped. This matter was too shocking. One had to know that the Duong clan's ancestor was a king. Such a person was the pinnacle of existence. How could he be killed? However, it really happened. Not only was he killed, but he was also killed by a youth in his 20s. When everyone found out about this, their minds exploded with a bang. In an instant, Lin Xian's name swept across the entire continent. Not only that, the Duong clan's destruction, Lin Xian's fight with the three kings, and slapping the Shun clan's ancestors' face in front of everyone. The entire Tianwu continent was in an uproar. Because every matter was too shocking. It had never happened before in hundreds or thousands of years. One had to know that they were all kings. Every one of them was an indomitable expert. However, all of them suffered in the hands of Lin Xian. This was too inconceivable. Especially when they heard that Lin Xian had summoned two mysterious kings to fight against the Shun clan's ancestor, Morong clan's ancestor, and the Happy King. Everyone's jaws dropped. Excluding Din Xian, and the Immortal Martial Academy's kings. Lin Xian actually had two kings by his side. This was too shocking. Perhaps no power in the Tianwu continent could fight against him. In an instant, the entire continent was talking about this matter. As for Lin Xian, he began to cultivate crazily. Ever since the Palace of Gods of War's cultivators returned, Lin Xian sent them out to search for energy. As for the energy requirements, he had asked He Tu before. He didn't have any specific requirements. There was only one, and that was a huge amount of energy. Therefore, Lin Xian mobilized the entire Palace of Gods of War, and all its subordinate forces, to search the entire Tianwu continent. Because only by finding enough energy could he leave this place, and head to the real true spirit world. As for Lin Xian, he went into seclusion to cultivate, and raise his cultivation. He had already cultivated the Furious Dragon Arts to the 4th level. Now his blood and chi were vigorous, surpassing the half-step king realm. His Heaven Spill visualization diagram had also reached the 6th level. His soul power had increased tremendously. It could be said that if he didn't use the Dragon Sword domain, no one below the king realm was his match. And once he used the Dragon Sword domain, even a 1-star king would not be a match for him. Just like that, Lin Xian went into seclusion and cultivated rapidly. At the same time, in a certain primordial forest of the Tianwu continent, there was a huge canyon. This canyon was tens of thousands of feet deep. There was no one at all, not even demonic beasts. However, at the bottom of this ravine, there was a black silhouette. Like a small mountain, it was burning fiercely and emitted blazing heat. The surroundings were charred black, and not a single blade of grass grew. This strange figure was naturally the heavenly Netherbird. At this moment, there was only one astral chain left on his body. The other 3 had lost their luster, and were scattered on the ground. However, the heavenly Netherbird didn't refine the last one. Instead, it suddenly opened its eyes. His pitch-black eyes flickered with scorching flames as they pierced through the void before him. Damned astral chains. How could they be so powerful? Even if I tried my best, I could only refine 3 of them. However, this last one is simply unable to stop me. Wait for me to absorb some energy, then I'll break this last chain. At that time, the entire Tianwu continent will be under my feet. In the next moment, the heavenly Netherbird stood up. The flames on its body flickered as it opened its bloody mouth and sucked with all its might. Immediately, the surrounding spiritual chi started to churn and fly towards it. This scene was too terrifying. The heavenly Netherbird was like a peerless demon as it crazily devoured the surrounding spiritual chi. The spiritual chi quickly gathered and formed rivers of spiritual chi that spun towards the heavenly Netherbird. However, the heavenly Netherbird was like a bottomless pit as it crazily devoured the spiritual chi. Not long after, the plants in the canyon lost their luster, turned yellow, and finally died. The entire canyon became a wasteland, and the situation was still spreading rapidly. In a primordial forest not far from the canyon, 2 demonic beasts were fighting. One of them was a golden ape, and the other was a pitch-black black bear. Both of them had powerful auras, and both had the strength of a 9-star demonic beast general. As they fought, the entire void trembled and parts of the forest collapsed. No one knew why these two demonic beasts were fighting, but the battle was extremely intense. However, not long after, the two of them stopped and looked into the distance in bewilderment. Then they revealed a look of horror. This was because the forest in the distance was withering at a speed visible to the naked eye. The trees directly withered and lost their vitality. A gray ray of light was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. Everywhere it passed, everything fell. The gray ray of light was quickly flying towards them. Even though the two demonic beasts had reached the level of a 9-star demonic beast general, and were even more terrifying than a 9th heaven supremacy. However, at this moment, they started to tremble violently, and a deep sense of fear appeared in their eyes. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two demonic beasts no longer cared about fighting. They turned and fled, turning into two shocking rays of light. However, the gray ray of light was even faster. The moment they rose into the air, it instantly swept past their bodies. The two demonic beasts stopped in midair, and their huge bodies quickly shrank. The golden ape's golden light quickly dimmed, and its flesh quickly withered. As for the black bear spirit, it was extremely horrified. Its huge body instantly turned into a bag of bones. In the next moment, the two demonic beasts turned into a pile of white bones and fell to the ground. The gray ray of light was still rapidly spreading into the distance. In another part of the forest, a group of cultivators was moving quickly. At the forefront was a young man in a blue shirt. He held a hidden sword in his hand, and his entire body exuded a powerful aura. Beside him was a girl in a pink shirt, who was anxiously looking into the distance. Sister Fu, don't worry. I'll catch Silver Fox for you now. Senior brother, be careful. Silver Fox has reached the level of an 8-star demonic beast general. It's extremely terrifying. The girl in a pink shirt had a look of concern. Don't worry, junior sister. I just made a breakthrough a few days ago, and reached the level of an 8th heaven supremacy. It's not difficult to deal with Silver Fox. The man in a blue shirt was extremely confident, and he couldn't help but increase his speed. Silver Fox, who was in front of him, was like a silver ray of light that streaked across the void. However, in the next moment it stopped in midair. It raised its furry head and looked into the distance, its expression filled with fear. Beast, where do you think you're going? When the man in a blue shirt saw this scene, he was overjoyed. He held the long sword in his hand, and quickly slashed out several blue sword lights. These sword lights surged in the air, forming a huge sword net that enveloped Silver Fox. In the next moment, the Sword King would be able to catch Silver Fox. Chapter 1468. Not only him, but the girl in pink next to him, as well as the warriors behind her, were also stunned. That was because the silver fox in front of them instantly withered and turned into a pile of bones. It was as if his energy had been sucked away by something. It was very strange. In the sky, the huge blue sword net also became dim in an instant, and then disappeared. What? The blue-robed man was shocked. That was his ultimate move, but it was broken in an instant. Then his face darkened and he shouted coldly, "Who is it? Come out." However, no one answered him. In the next moment, the blue-robed man was also stunned. As if he had encountered something terrible, his body instantly caved in. Not only him, but the girl in pink and the warriors behind her also turned into a pile of bones in an instant. In the sky, there was an arc of gray light that quickly spread. This gray light was naturally released by the heavenly netherbird. At this moment, it was crazily devouring the surrounding spiritual energy. Gradually, with the canyon as the center, everything within 1,000 miles was turned into a wasteland. All the trees, monsters, and humans were sucked dry of their spiritual energy and turned into countless bones. In the depths of the canyon, the heavenly netherbird slowly closed its mouth. Suddenly, the terrifying devouring power also quickly disappeared. If I use the normal method to refine the star chain, I'm afraid it will take about a year. But I can't wait any longer. The heavenly netherbird whispered to itself. Then, a fierce light burst out from its eyes. Forget it. Since there's only one chain left, I'll go out and see if there's any powerful energy to replenish. Obviously, the devouring did not allow it to recover to its full strength. Moreover, that method of absorption was too slow. The heavenly netherbird could not wait, and wanted to immediately go out and take revenge. So in the next moment, it flapped its huge wings. Countless flames spread, and its huge body quickly left the ground. In the next moment, the heavenly netherbird turned into a black light and disappeared from the canyon. Northwest of the Tianwu continent, there was an extremely majestic mountain range here. It was the territory of the Divine Bird Palace. Since the last time they left the Palace of Gods of War, the people of the Divine Bird Palace were very low-key. They did not even go out. There was nothing they could do about it. The shock they had received earlier was simply too great. The scene of Lin Xian killing the Duan family's patriarch was like a nightmare that kept circling in their minds, unable to disperse for a long time. They were even afraid that Lin Xian would attack their Divine Bird Palace, so they all gathered here and did not dare to go out. The palace lord of the Divine Bird Palace was in seclusion, cultivating with all his might to break through and become a king. This was the only way to ensure the safety of the Divine Bird Palace. However, these people did not know that at this moment, there was a black figure near the mountain range. It was rapidly approaching. This black figure carried with it a blazing flame aura. It was like a flaming divine bird as it flew rapidly through the sky. This figure was naturally the heavenly netherbird. His dark eyes looked down at the mountains below, and he whispered to himself, "I remember that the Divine Bird Palace seems to be here. I wonder how much of my strength can these 3 vermilion bloodbirds help me recover." Thinking of this, he revealed a sinister smile. Then he flapped his black wings and charged downwards like a bolt of black lightning, tearing the sky apart. In the next moment, he arrived at the mountain range. There were countless palaces and pavilions in front of him. At the center of the palace were 3 majestic palaces. One was a purple palace that was bathed in lightning, while the other was a green palace that was surrounded by wind blades. The last one was a flaming palace. It was like the palace of the fire god, blooming with a blazing light. The 3 vermilion bloodbirds were also an ancient species. They had 3 heads and 3 attributes: wind, lightning, and fire. The 3 palaces in front corresponded to the 3 heads. It could be said that the 3 palaces were forbidden areas of the Divine Bird Palace. At this moment, the heavenly netherbird looked at the 3 palaces in front of him and snorted coldly. Then his huge claws grabbed forward. Looking at the 3 palaces in front of him, the heavenly netherbird raised his claws and slowly grabbed forward. The first thing he did was to grab the fiery red palace of flames. The huge claws covered the sky and the earth. They were extremely black, with black flames dancing on them. It was like the claws of a demon god. It was extremely terrifying. When the flaming palace was attacked, it immediately emitted a dazzling light. Flames surrounded the palace, as if they were going to burn everything. Oomph! The heavenly netherbird snorted disdainfully. Using flames in front of him was courting death. Sure enough, in the next moment, countless black flames shone coldly on the huge palm. Black lines appeared on the claws, and a terrifying heat surged forward. Boom! 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 The two flames collided with each other, making a low sound. In the next moment, a hole was torn in the fiery red light screen, and the monstrous red flames became extremely dim in an instant. In front of the heavenly netherbird, they could not use their strength at all. They were completely suppressed. Seeing this, the heavenly netherbird snorted disdainfully. Then, he waved his claws and grabbed the flaming palace. With a strong pull, the majestic palace was uprooted from the ground and arrived in front of the heavenly netherbird. The heavenly netherbird opened his bloody mouth and sucked hard. Suddenly, a black vortex appeared. The huge palace in front of him was attracted by the black vortex. It quickly shrank and was sucked into the heavenly netherbird's stomach. This change immediately attracted the attention of the martial artists of the Divine Bird Palace. Countless martial artists rushed out from the mountains around Viper. When they saw that one of the 3 shrines in the center was missing, their faces changed. Those were the shrines in their hearts. They were incomparably sacred places. Now that one was missing, it made them feel as if the sky was falling. Damn it, who did this? Get out here. Enemy attack. There's a powerful person attacking. Hurry and inform the elders. How dare you come to my Divine Bird Palace? I'll make sure you don't leave. Angry shouts rang out. It was obvious that everyone was furious. However, when they looked up at the sky and saw a huge black figure, they were all stunned. Then fear appeared in their eyes. Even their bodies began to tremble. Tion, heavenly netherbird. Everyone was terrified. They did not expect the heavenly netherbird to attack. This was a king, and an extremely powerful one. The Divine Bird Palace could not resist at all. The elders of the Divine Bird Palace who rushed over were so scared that they peed their pants. Originally, when they heard that their 3 shrines had disappeared, they were so angry that their beards curled up. They decided that no matter who it was, they would kill him. Chapter 1469. That was a king. How could they fight? Even if all of them went up, they would not be able to withstand a single slap. Damn it! Everyone pay attention. Activate the protective array. At the same time, send someone to inform the palace master to come out. Also, send someone to the other king families. The great elder of the Divine Bird Palace shouted loudly. His voice spread clearly in all directions. Yes, activate the protective array. All the warriors were shocked. They moved to their respective positions and channeled their spiritual power. The protective array was the Divine Bird Palace's peerless array. It was used to defend against external enemies. This array had been passed down since ancient times. It was extremely terrifying. No one below the king level could break it. As for the king level, they did not know because no king level had ever attacked the Divine Bird Palace. However, they believed in the power of the protective array. It could at least resist for a while. During this time, they had already sent someone to inform the palace master. Not only that, they had also sent a distress signal to the Shun family, Morong family, Mary Woods, and other king families. As long as a king level dared to come, things would be easy. However, they did not know that the heavenly netherbird had recovered most of its strength. They thought that the heavenly netherbird was still bound by the star chains like before. Previously, the heavenly netherbird had caused a ruckus and was defeated by a king level. Therefore, they thought that it would be the same this time. Soon, a mysterious pattern flashed and a terrifying defensive array was activated. It covered the entire mountain range. This array had been passed down since ancient times. It had been perfected by generations of Divine Bird Palace experts. It could be said to be extremely powerful. After activating the protective array, all the warriors of the Divine Bird Palace heaved a sigh of relief. The elders also smiled. All right, we can hold on for a while. As long as the other kings arrive, we will be safe. The heavenly netherbird looked at the activated protective array and smiled disdainfully. Although this level of array formation was miraculous, it was nothing in his eyes. If it was like before, when it was trapped by the 4-star chains, it might take some effort to break this array. However, it only had 1-star chain left, and its strength had recovered by more than half. Compared to before, it could be said that it was countless times more terrifying. Therefore, he did not take the protective grand formation below seriously at all. In the next moment, his eyes flickered and black flames spread all over his body. They condensed into a pitch-black claw in front of him and slammed downwards. In an instant, lightning and fire intertwined, and wind and thunder roared. This terrifying claw turned into a black afterimage, accompanied by boundless flames around it. It was abnormally terrifying. In the void, ear-piercing whistling sounds could be heard. The lightning was astonishing, and all sorts of terrifying scenes erupted. This black palm ruthlessly slammed into the protective formation below, immediately erupting with an earth-shattering tremor. The entire mountain range shook violently, as if there was a huge earthquake. Damn it! Seeing this scene, the warriors of Divine Bird Palace below changed their expressions, and the elders roared madly. Everyone frantically channeled their spiritual energy to stabilize the formation. But soon, despair appeared in their eyes. This was because no matter how hard they tried, the tremors around them were getting more and more intense. It was to the extent where the ground beneath their feet began to crack apart, producing terrifying sounds. Mountains collapsed, palaces exploded, and countless people turned into a bloody mist in an instant. What? Impossible. Isn't there a defensive formation? How can the energy still be transmitted? At this moment, the faces of countless warriors of Divine Bird Palace changed greatly. They simply could not understand how such a thing could happen. This kind of terrifying method had long surpassed their understanding. However, in the next moment, their faces turned to horror again. This was because the protective formation above their heads was rapidly dimming. Countless cracks appeared on it like a spider web, instantly covering the entire sky. Ka-ka-ka. A low sound rang out, and then the entire protective formation shattered like glass. Countless fragments scattered in all directions. Impossible. This is simply impossible. The elders yelled madly. They could not believe that the protective formation had been broken. It had been broken in an instant. How could this be? One had to know that this was their protective formation. It had been passed down from ancient times. After being improved by generations of powerhouses, it could be said to be incomparably terrifying. They were even confident that it could withstand the attack of a king. However, now, in the face of the heavenly Netherbird's attack, the protective formation that they were so proud of had been broken. What was broken was not only the protective formation, but also the hope in their hearts. At this moment, everyone's faces were filled with despair. Many people's faces were ashen. It was over. It was completely over. Without the protective formation, they simply could not withstand the heavenly Netherbird's fury. This entire process did not even take half an hour. Not to mention the other kings, even their palace master had not arrived yet. For a moment, a sense of despair and fear enveloped the warriors of Divine Bird Palace. The heavenly Netherbird looked down at the mountains below with a sinister smile. Then it waved its claws. Suddenly, the bodies of countless warriors below exploded, turning into clouds of blood mist. Seeing this scene, everyone was terrified. The elders' faces changed greatly, and they all fled in all directions. In an instant, rays of light of various colors flew up from the mountains below and fled in all directions. Facing the heavenly Netherbird, they did not have any thoughts of fighting back. They only had one thought, and that was to escape. However, in the next moment, they were all in despair. Because it was as if the other party had used magic, their bodies all stopped in midair. It was as if an invisible hand had grabbed them. As a result, they couldn't shake it at all. No, damn it. I don't believe it. The great elder of Divine Bird Palace roared crazily. His body exploded with unparalleled energy, and he even began to burn his spiritual power and blood vessels. However, it was useless. In the next moment, the heavenly Netherbird's eyes moved, and the warriors' bodies exploded again, turning into clouds of blood mist. The blood mist did not disperse. Instead, it seemed to be guided by something and quickly floated in the same direction. That was the heavenly Netherbird. The blood mist condensed in front of the heavenly Netherbird, forming a strange blood rune. This rune was very complicated, and it was formed by countless mysterious lines. At first, it was very dim, but as more and more blood mist was added, the rune gradually lit up with a scarlet light. A mysterious and terrifying power was gradually emitted. Seeing this, the heavenly Netherbird smiled. Stop, hurry up and stop. However, at this moment, an angry voice suddenly came from the mountains below. This voice was very loud, and it directly penetrated the sky. Chapter 1470. A figure turned into a long rainbow and arrived in the sky at high speed. It was a middle-aged man with a majestic gait. He had a powerful aura and a pair of purple wings on his back. Heavenly Netherbird, why did you attack my Divine Bird Palace? This man was the palace master of the Divine Bird Palace. Seeing his palace destroyed and his disciples killed, he could no longer hold it in and shouted, "Who do you think you are? How dare a lowly ant talk to me like that?" The Heavenly Netherbird's eyes were cold. Suddenly, the palace master's body trembled, but he still shouted, "Why can't I? You and I are both flying beasts. Even in the ancient times, our two races intersected. Why did you attack us? Even if you want energy, you should attack humans." He was indeed crazy, because he could see that the Heavenly Netherbird was devouring their energy. But he could not understand why the Heavenly Netherbird Palace was targeted when there were so many human forces. Why? The Heavenly Netherbird snorted in disdain. You lowly ants want to claim kinship with me? If it was the real three-headed crimson bloodbird, I might hesitate. But you lowly ants are not worth mentioning. After the Heavenly Netherbird finished speaking, it did not bother to pay attention to them and flicked its finger. Suddenly, the Divine Bird Palace master's body exploded, turning into a bright red mist of blood. This scene was too shocking. The palace master of the Divine Bird Palace was an existence that surpassed the half-step king level. But in front of the Heavenly Netherbird, he could not resist at all and was easily killed. This was too unbelievable. Below, the remaining warriors saw this scene, and their scalps went numb. They sat on the ground paralyzed. It was over. It was really over. Their palace master had been killed in a single move, so they didn't stand a chance at all. Thinking of this, these people shouted crazily, "Why did you attack us?" However, no one answered them. There was only a pair of invisible hands that crushed them one by one. Tens of thousands of Divine Bird Palace martial practitioners exploded, turning into scarlet blood. The blood did not fall. Instead, it gathered in the sky and floated toward the mysterious rune. This scene was very strange. Countless drops of blood flew, but they did not drip on the ground. In fact, they even disappeared in the end. Only the pungent smell of blood filled the air. In the blink of an eye, all the martial artists in the entire Divine Bird Palace were killed, and no one escaped. In an instant, the originally majestic palace became fragmented, and the entire mountain range was torn apart. All the martial artists of the Divine Bird Palace were killed, but not a single corpse was left, not even a drop of blood was left. In an instant, the terrifying 6th-grade sect, the Divine Bird Palace, was annihilated. Looking at the mysterious rune flashing with scarlet light in the air, the Heavenly Netherbird revealed a trace of a sinister smile. Then it waved its claw and put away the mysterious rune. However, he once again looked towards the center of the mountain range, at the two remaining majestic halls. One was surrounded by purple lightning, while the other was accompanied by countless wind blades. He didn't let go of these two palaces either. He opened his mouth and sucked, forming a black vortex that sucked the two palaces into his stomach. After doing all this, he flapped his black wings, turned into a black flash, and left this place. Only ruins were left. The Shun family, the king family of the Tianwu continent. Like the Palace of Ares, the Shun family also occupied a spiritual vein, and it was one of the best spiritual veins in the Tianwu continent. The spiritual qi here was countless times denser than the outside world. Therefore, the effect of cultivating here was very good. The entire Shun family was like a fairyland. However, in this fairy-like Shun family, a few rays of light flashed quickly. "Who's there? Stop!" Seeing these rays of light, countless cold shouts were heard. Then dozens of powerful figures appeared in the air. These people were wearing battle armor, holding long spears, and emitting a biting cold murderous aura. These were the Shun family's guards. They were usually patrolling at the foot of the mountain. Once they noticed any disturbance, they would immediately attack, never allowing any enemy to enter the Shun family. Moreover, basically no one dared to cause trouble. After all, the Shun family was a king family, and was incomparably powerful. Even if someone came to visit, they would land at the foot of the mountain and be interrogated. Only after confirming that it was safe would they let these people in. But now, there was someone who was so daring as to barge in without putting them in his eyes. Therefore, these people immediately stepped forward and reprimanded him. If the other party did not listen, then they would attack mercilessly and kill him. Don't attack, it's me. I'm the leader of the family's Divine Wind team. In the air, the black figure quickly said, I have an urgent matter to report. Below, the martial artists guarding the mountain said coldly, whatever it is, investigate according to the rules. If you're someone else in disguise, we can't let you in. However, the figure above did not stop at all. He threw down a token, and then quickly left. At the same time, a voice was heard. They'll bear the consequences alone. Seeing that the figure was unwilling to stop, the guards below frowned. Leader, what should we do? Should we activate the defensive array and kill him? The leader of the guards was a middle-aged man. At this moment, he had a cold expression and shook his head slightly. No need, this token is indeed the leader of the Divine Wind team. It seems that he really has an urgent matter. However, we can't relax. Go to the family and report to confirm it again. Yes. Immediately, a guard quickly left and entered the Shen family to report. The leader of the Divine Wind team flew all the way and displayed an extremely fast speed. He turned into a gray light and shuttled quickly in the sky. His speed was so fast that it directly attracted the sound of wind and thunder. Even the void trembled violently. Below, countless martial artists of the Shen family looked up at the sky and were surprised. Because in the family very few people flew like this. Who is it? How dare he be so bold and attract the power of wind and thunder? Is it an enemy attack? Damn it! What's the matter with the guards below the mountain? Why don't they attack when they see someone coming in? The martial artists of the Shen family were furious. Some of the experts even wanted to attack. However, the figure above quickly said, I'm the leader of the Divine Wind team. I have an urgent matter to attend to and I have to break the family rules. Whoosh! Whoosh! A few elders of the Shen family appeared in the sky and blocked that person's path. Elder Feng, it's really you. Chapter 1471. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. A few elders of the Shen family appeared in the sky and blocked that person's path. Elder Feng, it's really you. What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? Among them, the third elder of the Shen family asked. Something bad has happened. I want to see the Laozu. I have to see him now. The leader of the Divine Wind team, Elder Feng, said anxiously. What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? The Laozu is in seclusion now. Yeah, why don't you leave it to us? Third elder. I'm afraid you can't make the decision on this matter. Elder Feng shook his head quickly. Then, he sent a voice transmission to the other elders. What's the matter? Why does he need to send a voice transmission? Can't he just say it out loud? The third elder and the rest were puzzled. But in the next moment, they trembled and looked horrified, because they had heard a terrifying news. Is your news true? The third elder and the rest were shocked and in disbelief. It's true. It's because of this news that I broke the rules and barged in. Now, I have to tell the Laozu what I did. Let's go. Follow me. This time, the third elder and the rest of the elders did not stop them. Instead, they led Elder Feng into the Shen family quickly. Only a group of Shen family warriors were left behind. They looked at each other and did not know what had happened. Dozens of elders gathered in the main hall of the Shen family. These were the core elders of the Shen family. These people gathered together and discussed with solemn expressions. Not long after, an old voice sounded from the main seat in the main hall. Greetings to the Laozu. Seeing this old figure, all the elders immediately bowed respectfully. The Laozu nodded slightly. Then, he looked at the leader of the Divine Wind team, Elder Feng. What's the matter? Why must I know when I come out of seclusion? After returning from the God of War palace, the Laozu of the Shen family went into seclusion to break through to a higher level. Before he went into seclusion, he left a message that unless there was an emergency, he was not to be disturbed. But now, not long after he went into seclusion, he was called out. This made him very unhappy, but he also knew that these people must have met with some unsolvable problem. Otherwise, they would not have asked him to come out. Elder Feng took a deep breath and said quickly, Laozu, the Divine Bird Palace has been destroyed. What? The old ancestor of the Shen family was stunned. He could not believe his ears. What did you say? The Divine Bird Palace was destroyed? He was indeed shocked. After all, that was the Divine Bird Palace. It was a dignified rank 6 sect. Moreover, it was a top rank 6 sect, second only to their sovereign clan. In the Sky Martial continent, he was also an overlord. With such strength, it was already good enough that they did not bully others. How could they have been destroyed? Tell me everything you know. Don't leave out a single detail. The old ancestor of the Shen family said in a deep voice. Yes. Elder Feng quickly told him everything he knew. Then, the entire hall fell into silence. Strange, it was too strange. According to Elder Feng, this Divine Bird Palace was exterminated, and no one was able to escape alive. Not only that, but the protective formation and the entire mountain range were completely destroyed. Even the 3 temples of the Divine Bird Palace had disappeared. What was even stranger was that there were only fragments of the palace at the scene. There was not a single corpse, not even a drop of blood. However, the thick smell of blood lingered in the air, indicating that there was definitely blood flowing. However, there was nothing left. It had to be said that this was too strange. Is what you said true? The Shen family's patriarch frowned. Every word is true. There is not a single word that is hidden. I hope that the patriarch can investigate thoroughly. Elder Feng quickly replied. Regarding this, the Shen family's patriarch and the other elders did not doubt him. After all, Elder Feng was the Shen family's information expert. Moreover, as a member of the Shen family, he was very loyal and would not lie to them. Moreover, this kind of thing could not be deceived. Such a big matter, they believed that it would not be long before the entire Sky Martial continent knew about it. Damn it, who did it? They actually destroyed the Divine Bird Palace? How is this possible? This situation is too strange. If the palace master of the Divine Bird Palace was killed, I would believe it. But the dignified Divine Bird Palace, with hundreds of thousands of disciples and countless experts, Not a single one was able to escape? This is unbelievable. Yes, not even a corpse was found. Not only that, not even a drop of blood was left. What kind of method is this? The group of elders were discussing. At this moment, the Shen family's third elder said in a deep voice, "The Divine Bird Palace is already a top 6th rank sect. To be able to destroy it, it must be at least a king family. And there are only a few king families. I guess it must be one of them who did it." You're saying a king made a move? The Shen family's great elder also gasped. But even a king would not be able to create such a scene. This scene was too strange. Countless experts, but not a single one escaped. Moreover, there was not a single corpse or drop of blood at the scene. Just thinking about this scene made one's scalp tingle. It was not that they had not seen the methods of a king, but such a strange scene was not something a king could easily create. If one king could not do it, what if it was 3 kings? 3 kings. Hearing the Shen family's patriarch's words, everyone was stunned, then their pupils constricted. Patriarch, you're talking about Lin Xian. Indeed, if there was anyone who could gather 3 kings in an instant, it would be Lin Xian. Because that day in the palace of Ares, Lin Xian summoned 2 king-level demonic beasts in an instant. In addition, Lin Xian himself had the combat strength of a king level. In the entire continent, only Lin Xian could summon 3 kings in an instant. He was probably the only one who could do it. The Divine Bird Palace and the Duan family had a close relationship. Now that the Duan family was destroyed, the Divine Bird Palace would not be able to escape. Could it really be that brat Lin Xian? Everyone was shocked. If this was true, then things would be troublesome. 3 kings working together was enough to destroy everything. Even the Shen family would not be able to stop them. Unless they joined forces with another king family, they would not be able to compete with Lin Xian. What is he trying to do? Damn it, this brat is too arrogant. What can we do? 3 kings are too terrifying. Everyone was discussing, but the Shen family's patriarch's face was terrifyingly gloomy. Damn this brat, he's too arrogant. What is he trying to do? Revenge? Or unify the entire continent? He could not help but be shocked. For hundreds and thousands of years, the Sky Martial continent had been peaceful. Although there were constant conflicts between the major forces, they were only small skirmishes. Basically, no rank 6 sects were destroyed, not to mention a top rank 6 sect like the Divine Bird Palace. Therefore, the Shen family's patriarch was furious. In the next moment he stood up, his eyes filled with killing intent. Lin Xian, you're too arrogant. Chapter 1472. The Shen family patriarch's eyes were filled with killing intent. Lin Xian, you're too arrogant. I don't believe that no one in this world can defeat you. During this period of time, let your people stay here. Don't leave. At the same time, strengthen the defense. If anything happens, immediately activate the defense array. I'll make a trip to the Palace of Ares. I'll be back soon. The Shen family patriarch instructed. Patriarch, you can't. That's right. That kid has 3 kings. Everyone was worried. The Shen family patriarch was the pillar of the Shen family. He could not fall. Don't worry. That kid isn't that arrogant. I believe that the Morong family and Mary Woods have received the news. I think the Morong family patriarch and Mary King will definitely head to the Palace of Ares to ask about it. So it's fine this time. After giving some instructions, the Shen family patriarch's body swayed and immediately disappeared from the main hall. Then a bright light shone in the sky. It was like the stars in the Milky Way. The Shen family patriarch's guess was right. Not long after, the Morong family and Mary Woods received the same news. Instantly, the Morong family patriarch and Mary King's faces changed. This news was indeed shocking. The Morong family patriarch and Mary King both thought of Lin Xian. However, the Morong family patriarch knew more. During this period, Morong Qingqing had returned home. Nine-Tailed had also returned. The Morong family patriarch knew that Nine-Tailed had not left at all. Therefore, he was very suspicious of this matter. However, he did not hesitate, and immediately headed to the Palace of Ares. On the other side, the Mary King gave some instructions and also flew up. In an instant, the 3 kings all flew towards the Palace of Ares. However, the Shen family patriarch was the first to move, and he was the fastest. Palace of Ares. Lin Xian was silently cultivating while waiting for the news of the energy stones. Some time had already passed since the energy stones were found. However, there was no result until now. After all, the energy stones he needed this time were too much and too powerful. These things were definitely rare treasures. It was impossible to find them in a short period of time. Lin Xian knew this. Therefore, he waited patiently. However, on this day, the 9th elder rushed over with a piece of news. Young master, there's a big matter. What is it? Could it be that you've made some progress on the source of the energy? No, it's not the energy source. Elder Jiuzhang shook his head with a grave expression. Young master, the Divine Bird Palace was destroyed. What? They were destroyed? Hearing this, Lin Xian was also extremely surprised. One had to know that that was a top-rank 6 sect. It was incomparably powerful. Moreover, it was their headquarters that was destroyed. The only ones who could do something like that were probably the King clans. Moreover, it had to be a large-scale invasion. Which King clan did it? Why did he attack? Are you clear about these matters? Lin Xian quickly asked. He was too surprised, because he couldn't think of anyone who would attack the Divine Bird Palace. Something big had happened recently, but the annihilation of the Duan clan had long been expected. The grudge between the Duan family and Lin Xian had been going on for a long time, so it was very normal. However, the Divine Bird Palace was different. He hadn't heard of any grudges with anyone recently. The only one was their alliance with the Duan clan. However, if it was someone who attacked, it should be Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian didn't plan to destroy the Divine Bird Palace. He didn't want to cause such a big war. Moreover, that day at the Palace of Ares, he had warned the Divine Bird Palace. He thought that they wouldn't dare to do anything. However, he didn't expect that not long after, the Divine Bird Palace was destroyed. I wonder who did it. However, the situation at the Divine Bird Palace is very strange. Tens of thousands of experts were all killed. Hundreds of thousands of disciples were all killed. No one escaped. In fact, there wasn't a single corpse at the scene, nor was there a drop of blood. Elder Jiu told him everything he knew. What? There's such a thing? Hearing this, Lin Xian also frowned. This matter was too strange. He couldn't understand it, so he called the dark red divine dragon over to ask about it. After hearing this, the dark red divine dragon also frowned. What you said was too strange. This shouldn't be a normal sect extermination battle. The other party was targeting the Divine Bird Palace's martial artists. Could it be that someone on the continent recently cultivated some evil technique? It requires the blood of a strong martial artist. The Divine Bird Palace was destroyed without a drop of blood. This undoubtedly made the dark red divine dragon think of the evil technique that devoured blood. This technique is very terrifying and cruel. If there really is a king secretly cultivating it, I'm afraid it will be a disaster for the Tianwu continent. Hearing the dark red divine dragon's words, Lin Xian's expression turned grave. He knew that the matter was urgent, so he quickly ordered, "Elder Jiu, send someone to investigate carefully. You must get to the bottom of this matter." "Yes, I'll go now." Elder Jiu turned around and was about to leave. At this moment, an incomparably bright light flashed in the sky. Following that, the entire palace of Ares shook violently, as if there was a huge earthquake. Boom! Rumble! Countless thunder boomed. Violent energy appeared in the sky and swept in all directions. At this moment, countless martial artists and elders of the palace of Ares raised their heads to look at the sky. Lin Xian also frowned. A trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes. Someone actually dared to attack the palace of Ares? They were courting death. A huge energy storm formed above the palace of Ares. Terrifying thunder boomed in all directions. Lin Xian's face was extremely gloomy, because he knew that an expert had made a move this time. Fortunately, there was a defensive array. Otherwise, the other party would have directly charged in. This defensive array was different from the previous ones. It was personally modified by the dark red divine dragon. It could automatically defend, and could be said to be very terrifying. It was also because of this automatic defensive formation that the mysterious powerhouse was blocked. The other martial artists of the Palace of Ares were also shocked. They didn't expect that someone would dare to behave so atrociously in their Palace of Ares. It wasn't that they were arrogant, but they were confident. Ever since Lin Xian killed Patriarch Duan Jia in front of everyone and destroyed the Duan family, their Palace of Arrest status in the Tianwu continent could be said to have skyrocketed. Even the other sovereign families didn't dare to provoke them. There was no choice. In the entire Tianwu continent, everyone knew that Lin Xian had 3 sovereigns on his side. And if Din Xian was included, that would be 4 sovereigns. There was even Lin Zhan, who had yet to come out of seclusion. If all of them came out, that would be 5 sovereigns. No sovereign family dared to provoke such a terrifying force. But now someone actually dared to barge into their Palace of Ares. How audacious! Just as everyone was guessing who it was that dared to lay their hands on the battle god technique, a cold voice boomed out from the void above. Chapter 1473. Just as everyone was guessing who it was that dared to attack their Ares god of war technique, a cold voice exploded in the sky. Lin Xian, get out here. Don't think that you can block my path just because you have a defensive array. If you provoke me, I'll destroy your Ares palace. This voice was filled with endless rage. Hearing this voice, everyone was in an uproar because they realized that this voice carried a strong aura of a king. It was obvious that this was a king. On the other hand, Lin Xian's face was gloomy. Naturally, he could tell whose voice it was. Shen family patriarch, you're courting death. I didn't do anything to you when you targeted me last time. I didn't expect that you would dare to come again. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? Lin Xian snorted coldly. His body swayed, and he instantly appeared in the sky. Give me a reason to forgive you. Otherwise, don't even think about going back today. Lin Xian's eyes were gloomy and filled with killing intent. The Shen family patriarch seemed even more furious. He sneered. Kid, don't try to act mysterious in front of me. Let me ask you, did you destroy the Divine Bird Palace? What? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Even Lin Xian had a stunned look on his face. He didn't expect the Shen family patriarch to be here for this matter. The martial artists below still didn't know about the Divine Bird Palace, because the news hadn't spread yet. Therefore, when they heard that the Divine Bird Palace was destroyed, everyone was in an uproar. No way, the Divine Bird Palace was destroyed? What a joke. That's a 6th grade sect. I'm afraid that only a sovereign family can destroy it. Could it really be the young master's doing? That shouldn't be the case. The young master would definitely inform us if he made a move. But we didn't receive any news at all. Moreover, the young master didn't even leave the Ares palace during this period. Everyone was in a heated discussion. Lin Xian frowned. Are you out of your mind? How dare you suspect me? Stop pretending. On this continent, no one else has this ability except for you. The Duan family patriarch snorted coldly as he stared at Lin Xian. No one else has the ability? I don't think so. The Shen family should have the ability. Lin Xian sneered. According to what you said, I can say that it was you who destroyed Divine Bird Palace and then framed me. You. Hearing this, the Shen family patriarch's body was trembling. To be honest, any sovereign family can destroy the Divine Bird Palace. But what's the Divine Bird Palace? Not a single corpse, not a single drop of blood. How do you explain the thick stench of blood lingering in the air? This is definitely not something a king can do. You should know that when we discovered this situation, it had only been a short while. Even the smell of blood in the air was enough to make people vomit. It's impossible for a king to accomplish such a feat in such a short time. In the entire martial heaven continent, only you can join forces with 2 king-level demonic beasts. Now you're telling me that it's not you? How do you expect me to believe you? The patriarch of the Duan family became more and more agitated as he spoke. You destroyed the Duan family because of hatred, but what about the Divine Bird Palace? He's just on the Duan family's side. Just for this, you destroyed the entire Divine Bird Palace? That's hundreds of thousands of martial artists. How could you do it? The Shen family patriarch was furious. The Duan family's destruction was a result of karma. They could not blame anyone. After all, the Duan family had massacred the people of the Palace of War Gods. However, the Divine Bird Palace and Lin Xian did not have any direct enmity. Even if it was because he had helped the Duan family, the Palace of War Gods would only take revenge by killing a few elders. They could even kill the palace master of the Divine Bird Palace. But now hundreds of thousands of martial artists were killed. This was an extremely cruel method. Therefore, the Shen family patriarch could not stand it. I'll say it again. I didn't do it. If I wanted to destroy the Divine Bird Palace, I would have done it when you destroyed the Duan family. There's no need to wait for a second time. If you don't believe me, I can't do anything about it. If it's not you, then who is it? Who else on this continent can condense 3 sovereigns in an instant? The Shen family patriarch's voice was cold. He did not back down at all. Lin Xian snorted coldly. A powerful aura also surged from his body. The other party was so aggressive and accused him of such a big crime. Of course, he was unhappy. Moreover, he did things openly. He would not deny that he killed them. Just like when he destroyed the Duan family, he would kill them in front of all the experts in the world. If he did not kill them, he would not swallow his pride and let others slander him. Neither side was backing down. It looked like they were about to fight. The atmosphere in the air froze. A terrifying sovereign's aura spread out. Below, the martial artists of the Palace of War Gods trembled. The Ninth Elder had already ordered people to prepare the defensive array. However, at this moment 2 more voices sounded. Both of you calm down. Stop, don't fight. Accompanied by this loud and clear voice, 2 figures appeared in the sky, blocking Lin Xian and the Duan clan's patriarch. Seeing 2 more figures appear in the sky, everyone's hearts were in their throats. Because 2 more sovereigns had appeared. It was Patriarch Murong and the Happy King. The moment Patriarch Murong and the Happy King appeared, they stopped Lin Xian and the Shen family patriarch. At the same time they quickly said, "Both of you calm down." "I can't calm down. You 2 came at the right time. Let's take down this kid together. He's too presumptuous. Does he really think he can kill whoever he wants?" The Shen family patriarch's voice was ferocious. "You want to fight? You can try." Lin Xian did not back down. He took a step forward, and sword chi surrounded his body. "Both of you calm down." The Happy King quickly stopped them. Patriarch Murong also pulled the Shen family patriarch. "Don't fight. This is a little strange. At least I know that the 9-tailed demon fox has been in the Murong family, and has not left." "What? You said that the 9-tailed demon fox has not left?" This time, it was the Shen family patriarch's turn to be stunned. He did not expect things to be different from what he had expected. However, he was still very suspicious. Therefore he coldly shouted, "So what? Even if it's him and this 4-legged snake, they can do it too." "Fuck, old man. Who are you calling a 4-legged snake? Do you believe that I won't slap you to death?" The dark red divine dragon was also unhappy. Back then, he had revealed his divine dragon state in front of everyone. However, now the other party actually called him a 4-legged snake. This made him furious. What made him even angrier was that the other party actually dared to frame him. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.